Welcome in to the Jordy Culotta Show. Wave your hand out there, baby!
Shout out to the show.
She puts the pinky into the nostril. Man, look at that.
Healthy competition, there's nothing like it.
Y'all grow up. The line's wrapped around the stadium. Different strengths. I just lost a tooth.
It's going to be fun.
You know, we might have a story.
I love what you're doing.
Ogeron wants to take us fishing this afternoon.
Sharif, you play for the bad boys of the SEC, man. We don't apologize to anybody.
A lot of people are saying you're going to be wearing number 7.
I don't really know. I want to.
See, look crazy, Bill. Good feet on the old man.
Definitely come back.
We'll be right back with the Jordy Culotta Show. All right, welcome into a Friday edition of the Jordy Culotta Show, as always, built by RMB Builders. Check them out online at rmb-builders.com and on Instagram at RMB Builders. Shout out to Rhett and the crew over there, and Southern Regional Medical Center for bringing you our phone line each and every day. We got a couple of guests coming through. Host of the 60 Feet 6-Inch podcast, we've got Chris Demouy, former Tiger, going to be here at 7:45 this morning. He was up in Omaha with LSU. He was on the 97 championship squad. We'll talk to him about his thoughts, memories, and going forward LSU baseball as the Tigers' #1 team in the country, finishing up here in 2023. We'll also talk to Chris Blair. Blair, of course, on the call for so many magical moments for this baseball team all season long. We'll have his thoughts and memories coming through here at around 8:15 this morning. Then Nathan Velasquez will be here at 8 o'clock. We did have an interview with Cole Kubelik. We good on that, Stu? Cool, Cole Kubelik that we...
That's a good producer's head shake right there.
We did earlier.
Show us the head shake.
Yesterday. We did yesterday.
Show us the head shake.
What?
I know that head shake. Yeah, it should be good. Should be good.
I'm over here working.
Yeah, whenever you clicking that much and we're in the show, it's just we'll get to it. We get to it.
Yeah,
Can we go to it right now?
Everybody calm down.
But we will hear from Cole Kubelik, one of the SEC football analysts, coming up here at around 8:30 this morning, as Cole was here and we had a chance to talk to him about everything SEC football, including the Tigers. So welcome in on this Friday morning. Make sure and hit that like button, share button, comment button if you don't mind. We appreciate you starting your weekend here with us, your 4th of July weekend. Happy holiday weekend to you. Could be a 4-day weekend for a lot of you out there, with Monday and Tuesday off as well. So
Well, that's like a 5-day weekend, right?
Yes, 5.
It's 5.
Right?
Jeez.
That's weird.
Y'all count Friday?
Yeah, right. I mean,
Oh.
I wasn't counting Friday.
You work on Friday.
I guess, but like Friday night, right?
They kind of showed their
Is that
hand
what
there.
happens? But don't you say, when you have like a Monday off, don't you call that so you call that a 3-day weekend,
Yeah.
right? What did
Yeah.
you just say, a 4-day weekend?
Yeah.
Okay.
What's Tuesday?
You started busting balls.
It's 5!
I mean,
Got a lot on our mind.
so do I. I mean, man,
I'm in the dark.
for God's sakes. All right, so hit that like button, share button, comment button if you don't mind. As we said, Jay Johnson, if you saw the clip, I don't know if anybody saw this clip. It was because it was, I guess, Stewie, I'm gonna text this to you. Somebody tweeted it into my DMs of Twitter. I mean, and he was like, check this out. And it was Jay Johnson signing an autograph for somebody at the top of, like he was at the top of the bleacher. And he like drops a ball to Jay Johnson as he's walking down. And Jay Johnson like catches it, signs it, throws it back up. And like as he's throwing it back up, the guy's like, what's the deal with Chase Burns? And it's like, and Jay Johnson's like, I'm just trying to enjoy this for an hour, but I promise you I'm going to be on the phone with him tonight. And it looks like LSU is closing ground here on the Chase Burns sweepstakes. Stewie, what's the best way to, how do you want this? You want it DM? You want it text? You want what?
Email.
Email?
Yeah.
All right,
There's a lot coming at you today, Stewie.
The Twitter machine is giving them fits.
What's going on over there, Stewie?
It's not letting him log in through vMix. I know what's going on. It's
He's
okay.
a frustrated producer
Yeah.
with a smile on his face.
Go to the Cole Kublik interview right now, Stewie.
It's up there.
Oh, hell yeah.
It's there.
Click that audio.
All right, Stewie, I just emailed it to you. So it seems like, as we said, that LSU was the last one to cross the finish line, right, here in the season, which is best case scenario for in season. As for recruiting, you're a little bit behind the 8 ball because other teams have had a head start on being in contact, hosting kids, all of the details of, and that goes into recruiting. One of the top names in the transfer portal this year is Chase Burns. Burns is the closer from Tennessee. LSU has seen him up close, and he seems to be the top target. LSU is closing ground on TCU, seems to be like the team in the lead right now for Chase Burns. But Jay Johnson and his crew now on it. Look, Jay Johnson's still got to hire a pitching coach, which I'm sure he's got a short list for. I mean, I'm not saying that he's stressing this, but what the point is, he's got a lot going on. You know, I mean, with as far as, trying to rebuild the roster, it's probably a little tough to recruit one of the top pitchers in the game without a pitching coach. Now, you can say, look, last year we had LSU had an open spot and vacancy on their staff as far as the pitching coach went, and he went out and got a sitting Major League Baseball pitching coach off of a top team in the league in Wes Johnson. So, I mean, now he's doing this recruiting pitch with a national championship in his pocket, with Paul Skeens going to be the number 1 pick in the draft. I mean, there's all types of selling points now that you have if you're Jay Johnson on why LSU makes the most sense for not only guys like Chase Burns, but coaches out there that need to fill roles that are still open for LSU. So, look, it's nonstop. It's this schedule that we've talked about with coaches. And, by no means is anybody trying to throw a pity party for these guys. They earn a lot of money. They have a lot of cool perks. But, I mean, the fact of the matter is they got no time off. They got no breaks. The schedule is it's nearly impossible. I mean, if I'm being honest, I mean, from the football coaches, even the basketball coaches standpoint. I mean, I was talking to Coach Mulkey a couple of weeks back, and she was talking about some of the, just the differences in schedules. And look, by no means is she old. By no means is she breaking down. But she's been in the game for a long time, and you can see the wear that it has on someone that has to transition this late in the career of how different the schedule is. I mean, it's literally no days off. I mean, like it. I think, was it Saban that put out his coaching staff worked 48 of the 52 weeks last year? I mean, and like
it was him.
It wasn't counting like holidays and stuff either. I mean, like it was he was even pointing out like it is a grind. I mean, say these head coaches, they're not spending 100 hours a week in the building, but they're making sure that the entire staff is, right? And now it's mandated because there's no let up on the schedule. I mean, if you're not preparing and coaching and on the field developing, you're recruiting and breaking down film of future players that you got to get in the program. And if it's not high school kids, it's transfer portal kids. I mean, it's a lot.
I was about to say, do you think that the coaches I'm sure they were excited about the idea of the transfer portal, but once it actually became real, they're like, oh, you just added 24 hours to a 24-hour schedule.
I think they added, like another month.
Right.
I mean, essentially, there was
added
a dead period in college football that you had like a month off.
Yeah,
right?
No, we can't recruit right now.
You just
dead
couldn't
period.
work.
Yeah.
I mean, there was really nothing to do.
Rules are the rules.
But now
right?
that it's gone back to 30 days instead of 60, doesn't that help the coaches, wouldn't y'all think?
Maybe.
I mean, that gives them a little more time back because you got to do everything in 1 month instead of 2.
The transfer portal stuff in recruiting is so different than anything else.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I mean, you've already got established relationships with key players in recruiting with certain players. So you may know aunt, uncle, brother, sister, girlfriend, boyfriend, whoever it is, you know, you've established these relationships. So in a lot of cases, I mean, I know a ton of coaches where those relationships, you don't fall out of touch. You know what I mean? You may not be talking every day, but I mean, on Saturday nights, how'd our boy do? You know what I mean? How's she playing? I mean, whatever it may be, you're keeping in contact. So if I'm recruiting the transfer portal, I mean, like it's
There is no dead period.
Yeah, there is no dead period, right? And I mean, and if you're really a coach that's out there wanting to be and make the best of it, I mean, come on. You know what I mean? If you're hearing a rumor that somebody's unhappy in a certain place and you have a relationship built in, the last thing you're doing is paying attention to the dead period, right? And I'm not saying that, I mean, that's not demean. They're trying to save their job. They just want to be the best at what they do because there's a high reward for being, you know, the top at the sport. So, I mean, I get it, you know, but nobody's paying attention to that stuff, right? I mean, like when you're high school recruiting, it's a little different. I mean, you can't go on the campus, you know what I mean? Like the high school coaches, 8 out of 10 of them aren't going to break the rules. You know what I mean? Yeah. There may be some guys out there that are established that know, you know, have really good relationships with some coaches that, you know, may put them in contact. But for the most part, high school coaches are, you know, they're CYA. I mean, they're cover your ass. I mean, I'm not trying to get in any trouble, right? And you definitely don't want to be the team or the school or the coach that gets LSU in trouble.
Right.
Right? I mean, you know, think if you're an Alabama high school and you get Auburn or Alabama in trouble, what's going to happen to you? Right? I mean, so that's a little bit more probably staying within the lines. This transfer portal recruiting literally is got to be the wild west. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like they're probably contacting kids that have not even stated that they're unhappy. You know what I mean? They just may have an opening at wide receiver and they're like, yo, text.
I'm sure they are.
Text old boy at Auburn. See if, you know, I mean, he's third on the depth chart. See if he can.
Only 35 catches last year.
Right.
Yeah, we got room.
Right.
I guess that's what you do. Like, even if they're not in the portal, you would look around and be, who's like, quote unquote unhappy, who's not getting touches? Like, exactly. Reach out, and then you have to. I guess the way that they've been doing it is putting feelers out through, whether it be their
back channels,
like their old high school coach, whoever you can get in touch with to get a message in a bottle.
I mean, like, how many people you think text Harold Perkins' uncle?
A lot.
You know, like, I mean, they know that, like,
after the Tennessee game,
you can get in with this guy, right? Like, I mean, how many college recruiters got in with Uncle Kev?
Everybody.
You know what I mean? Like, I mean, now it's worked out at LSU. There's not a lot that people can say on trying to sway, other than say, hey, look, we got $1 million more for him over here. But, I mean, there's relationships like that everywhere. You know, I mean, there's relationships like that all over the sports, all over college sports. So, I can't imagine trying to govern transfer.
Oh my God!
Especially, and now you, like you said, you have fans that are literally trying to, during a championship celebration. Well, I saw somebody just hit the portal, and he's like, "I'm very aware, but today I'm doing this. I'm here right now. You want me to be texting during this thing?"
It's like, I got the video.
Yeah, look at this. My guy.
You want to play it?
No.
That's cute.
I'm going to go ahead and enjoy this for an hour, and then I'll be on the phone with him after that.
There we go. That's what I like to hear. Hey, when
Athlete
we get Chase
coach,
Burns.
Jay Johnson.
I'm going to go ahead and enjoy this for an hour.
I mean, how does he throw the ball back up?
There we
I
go.
need to
That's
see
what I
that.
like
I
to
missed
hear.
that.
Well, I mean, the catch alone
And with the Sharpie.
with the Sharpie,
Yeah.
right? I mean, like that's
High level stuff.
Yeah.
that's nice little hand-eye coordination coming at you.
But like, if I had to throw that back up there, I feel like I would do some weird overhand.
Who's the
Throw.
I mean, Jay Johnson seems like the only coach that could really like lace it up and not make a fool of himself.
Vitello, probably. I think he
Yeah.
played. I mean, he acts like
I mean,
he's
like-
he act like he
Yeah,
would match.
whatever.
He would
Either
match-
way.
Imagine Will Wade playing horse against Adam Miller.
Yeah. It's not a video you put out.
Like, imagine Brian Kelly running a go route, catching it from Jaden Daniels.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I could see Jay Johnson like legging out an
Taking
infield
infield,
single.
in and out, yeah.
I mean, he looks like he's still got that
Yeah, I mean, it's
like cross the line athletic touch.
He does.
I mean, he stands on the field during the game.
oh, that's just. I think that's because he's got some like I'm so into it. Yeah, like I just have to watch every pitch. I'm watching how everybody's moving. It's just he is so zoned into the game where, I mean, you saw how that is a benefit to him, especially this year. It can be you can overcoach, right?
Sure.
But it feels like he was so locked into the team that you saw it whenever he pulled Guidry after one pitch. He was like, nope, this is not what we're doing today. You know, like and that's in the College World Series where it's, okay, I know exactly what I'm seeing. This isn't going to work. Let's go. Like, I don't want to waste his pitches. He gives up a home run, pull him, get Cooper in there. And, like, or Griffin Herring in there. And it's just a part of how his coaching style is. But also, he's still got a little bit of that, got my swagger back. Like, I still do it if y'all need me. And it feels, like I said, it feels like Vitello would bat 10th if you let him.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
that would be him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
I want to bet.
right.
Yeah, put me in the.
I'm up.
I'm checking myself in the game. Jackie Moon.
Florida is seeing some guys go into the portal. You seen this?
Yeah.
Florida's had 3 more guys enter the portal, including a 43-game starter as a freshman in 2022. Derek Fabian has entered the portal. He was a second baseman for them. Tyler Nesbitt has entered the portal. Matt Prevzik has entered the portal for Florida. So this is 5 players that Florida has lost to the transfer portal. Now, I don't know Florida baseball. I don't know if those guys can play or not. But I'd imagine with as much success as teams have, or teams that are experiencing failure may have guys leaving for the portal. It even happens on successful teams as well, right? I mean, like there's a lot that shakes out when teams are winning that you look around and say, I may not fit in here. And, you know, I mean, that may be the case. I'm not going to act like I know what I'm talking about when what's going on with the Florida baseball culture. But I do know that 5 players have entered the portal.
Kevin O'Sullivan seems like he stresses his team out.
Kevin O'Sullivan should be stressed out himself.
Mm-hmm.
He looks like he's got anxiety all the time.
No, I can't ever figure him out.
You don't. I wouldn't dive too deep into O'Sullivan.
Yeah.
I think LSU did was like, whoa,
Hey.
oh, Sully, you go ahead and stay over there, brother.
Pulled the curtain back a little too far today.
Wow.
He's starting in Ozarks.
He doesn't ever have much of an expression, really, I feel like.
I mean, Katie, when you live
Psychopath.
like him.
Yeah, I know.
Got a lot going on in that.
Psychopath.
I know.
A lot running around in the brain.
Yeah.
And whenever, I mean, you saw it come to fruition against TCU when he did too many mound visits. And that was the most stressed I've ever seen a coach that, obviously he's a great coach. I mean, you don't get to where they've been in the heights of the Florida program, winning a national championship, I think he's been to, 3? Or at least certainly 2, and 1-1. But like whenever he made that move and he had to pull his All-American closer, and then they put I think it was a freshman or sophomore in, and there's nothing he can do at that point, right? He can't go out and visit again. He can't do anything. He was helpless, and he is just standing at the top step, and his face looked like it was about to explode, and he was like, I might get fired for this. Like
if he wasn't as accomplished, if that was his first time to Omaha, I think you would discuss.
He can't handle it.
I don't know if you fire him, but I think that there's an internal conversation of, is this job too big for him?
Really?
Right.
I mean, Katie, to have that type of blunder
Yeah.
on that stage is inexcusable. Now, if you're a national championship coach, you can go back to your bosses
Right.
and say, I screwed up. Like, I lost my mind. I mean, I just kind of lost it in the game. If that was your first time there and you went back and you had to fully, honestly admit, like, hey, I kind of lost track of the game. You know what I mean? If I'm cutting that check, I'm thinking,
what do you mean?
What?
Yeah.
I mean, like, what do you mean? Like, that's the biggest stage that the game can offer.
Yeah.
I mean, how did that happen? And if he was just like, well, I just kind of, my brain farted. He'd be like,
Oh. Because there's no other.
We'll be in touch.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Did you brain fart over there?
Right. I mean, I just, that was as
mine. No, it's a Chris Webber moment.
And then to almost, I thought the next day with the T-shirt, why bring more attention to it? You know, like, I guess that is that's the cachet that a championship level coach can bring. I can kind of like
laugh at myself,
self-deprecate myself. But I thought even like, man, you probably want to run from this.
Yeah,
You know what I
let
mean?
this
Like,
die in the news
yeah,
cycle.
Like, don't even let this. Don't even acknowledge that you. I mean, he nearly cost his team the game by doing that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that is.
We were watching it whenever we were in Omaha, and first of all we were like, "How do you let that happen?" The second question was like, "How is there not somebody on staff?"
No doubt.
That's like
doubt.
grab you by the belt
No
and be like,
doubt.
Coach.
No
You can't
doubt.
get like.
No.
I
Exactly.
would say with almost 100% certainty that there's somebody on LSU staff that wouldn't let that happen.
Well,
First of all, it would be Jay. Second of all, it would be somebody that'd be around and be like, "You can't go back." Like how many? He would ask like. How many times have I walked out there?
With as many people that are inside of a baseball dugout holding a clipboard and a pencil, and
They're
to think
charting
that
everything.
Nobody's counting mound visits. I mean, that in itself is almost a fireable offense. I mean, like, what's everybody doing?
You got the guy with the pitch tracker. Click. That's 3. That's 4. Get one for the mound visit, coach. That's 3. You can't go back out there.
So, as the mound visits go, like the catcher to the pitcher counts as a mound visit.
No, it's just for
It's
how many
just
times.
How many times the dugout goes to the mound?
Yeah, it's certainly I think for the head coach, you can make. I don't know the number.
It's
but there's
6.
For the entire game.
For the entire game.
And then after you do it the 6th time, you have to make a change essentially. And I
Right.
think there's another rule inside the inning that you can only go out there so many times.
Well, how many times can the catcher go? Then,
yeah.
if that doesn't count.
I don't know.
I don't know,
Okay.
but obviously there's a finite number on it.
Yeah.
And you've also seen whether it be the catcher or like the shortstop run over and like just take a beat and like talk to him like, oh, we're changing signals for what we're doing for like a back pick.
Yeah.
So you can come up with a reason to go visit or something like that,
Yeah.
But for the coach to not know the number is tough.
That is-
Especially
Yeah,
when
that
At
is.
that
And-
moment.
and the producer at camera 2,
I mean,
just this man on the top step just going, well, I can't coach. There's nothing I can do now. And he was just that feeling I'd imagine for a head coach,
Oh
as
my
much
God.
as they want to control everything, to be basically rendered useless in the moment. And it's like, oh, okay, well, let's see how this plays out. You're just a fan.
just watching.
You're just watching.
Got in for free, coach.
Les Miles, best seat in the house.
I mean, that was
My wife.
That was tough, man.
Where's my wife?
Where's my wife? All right, we're going to talk to Chris Demouy coming up here in 20 minutes. Demouy, of course, a part of the 97 team. He also is the host of the 60 Feet 6 Inch podcast, which is featured on LSU Baseball. It's a great spot, man. Demouy does a great job. He's built that thing from the ground up, doing great work. Chris Blair is going to be here 8:15 this morning, and we're going to talk to Nathan Velasquez at 8 a.m. We're also going to hear from Cole Kubelik at 8:30 this morning. Cole, of course, as good as anyone breaking down college football, specifically the SEC, and that's exactly what we're going to do inside that conversation. We go all around the league with Cole, talking about storylines from Texas A&M to Georgia to Auburn, of course to LSU, and everywhere in between. So make sure and stick around at 8:30 this morning. We'll have some good football discussion for you with one of the best, man, Cole Kubelik. He's fantastic as far as breaking the game down. So a lot of reaction yesterday to the Keelan Moses recruiting segment that we had, and a lot of people over at the U texting in saying that they saw it. And right now, man, Keelan is on. He's kind of in the grind of recruiting. He's going through the unofficial visiting tours of the off season and has been to a couple of schools in the Southeastern Conference. And I am very confident in what we said yesterday. And after speaking to some more people, including some people around U High and around LSU, man, LSU's sitting in a great spot, right? LSU's done fantastic work of really showing a plan. And I will tell you who I have heard from multiple people and sources who have been very instrumental in this recruitment is Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly has kind of a list within a list, is what I was told, that he has every single year 3 or 4 guys that he targets and says, hey, look, lead recruiter, do your job, but I am going to be hovering over this thing and helping and making sure that we are clear, transparent, and he's got every, he knows what he's going to get when he comes to LSU. And Keelan Moses has been one that Brian Kelly has fully embraced, one that he has sought out and said that he is a top target. And from what I have learned, I think that has done LSU some really good work, man. Put him in a really good position to hopefully get some good news. I think that, Keelan Moses is not going to take this thing to the finish line. I think that, he's a top-end player who has seen the fruits of recruiting very early here in his process. It's not as if he needs to go through, all the way through his senior season to February to find out, what all of this recruiting is going to be like. He's getting it. I mean, he's having the full experience, and he's big man on campus everywhere he goes. So he's absolutely going through, a great recruiting experience. But at the end of the day, I think that the hometown team, I think LSU is going to be the last one standing. And I think he's, I really do. I think he's fantastic. I think first off, he's a great kid, and it's something that we've talked about here over the last couple of cycles for LSU. While they have just really, put 4 and 5 stars into the net and reeled them in, man, the majority and for the most part, these are really good people. And it matters, in my opinion, when you talk about – I think about the Saints run, so much when you talk about the dynamics of chemistry within the locker room. And one thing that Sean Payton and Mickey Loomis put a premium on, it seemed like when they got to New Orleans, was not only finding really good football players, obviously you got to do that, but you find good people to put in the locker room, right? No drama, people that not are going to start a lot of stuff. I mean, if you read Sean Payton's book, when Payton took the job, I mean, there were things going on in the Saints locker room where, like, other players were sleeping with other players' wives. And, like, people were had a recliner. Wayne Gandy had a recliner in front of his locker that he would sit in. I mean, the place was.
Is that where he was having sex with other people's wives?
No, Wayne Gandy wasn't doing that. But, I mean, if you read Payton's book, I mean, it's two prominent players. I mean, that you were going to have a real rift in the locker room over, where it was going to divide the entire team.
I bet it would.
I mean, absolutely. It already had.
Yeah.
I mean, when Peyton stepped into it, the Saints was a debacle. I mean, it was the place was unhinged. I mean, it was wild. And one of the first things they did was say, look, you got to clean up the personalities first. I mean, like, some of these guys can play, but they're bad people. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, they're not gonna. You're never gonna win. It doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. You know
it's
what
the
I mean?
Haslett era.
Haslett, yeah, Jim Haslett.
And even
within Peyton's reign, like after the suspension, they got away from that a little bit, right? Who's a big defensive end that went to Washington? Junior Gillette.
Oh,
that they paid.
Yeah.
Remember Junior Gillette? That they gave all that money to. I mean, he ended up being.
All time in the news.
I mean, bro,
it still could be today.
I mean? Like, not the dude you wanted to pay, right? I mean, not the guy you wanted to give the cash to.
Great year,
right? But I mean, when you got away from that model, I mean, the thing fell off the cliff pretty quick, right? I mean, one of the things that Brian Kelly pointed out immediately when he got to LSU, and if you go back to our interview and listen, he says it very politically and very nice. He just said, look, when we got here, there were some people that weren't going to fit what we asked them to do, right? I mean, that's a polite way of saying you can't keep up, get out. I mean, that's that conversation. And a lot of that evaluation was probably like, I'm not putting up with that bullshit. I'm not putting up with the BS. I'm not dealing with people that aren't going to class. I'm not dealing with people that are in trouble. I'm not dealing with people that are failing drug tests continuously. I'm not dealing with all that drama. I'll just go find people that I don't even have to worry about that stuff with. Now, you still got issues. But if you can minimize them, right?
I don't want to see something across my desk every day.
You're not dealing with, sifting through a bunch of BS to make sure we can play football. Like, fellas, it's all about football, but first and foremost, you got to be able to get along. You got to be able to respect one another. You have to understand that there's other responsibilities that come with being here that if you don't take serious, you can't do it, right? Keelan Moses, and I think we can all attest to this. I mean, his family came and sat in this studio for 30 minutes. And look, anybody can be duped for 30 minutes. That wasn't fake, right? I mean, knowing the family, like I got to know a little bit when Dylan was coming up and calling their games and being able to watch a young Keelan and a young, Emmanuel come up. I mean, it was, they're good people, man. I mean, they're really good people, and to have a chance of adding Keelan to the mix would be an enormous get. Deron Traw, so Frank is not involved? No. Frank is the lead on this. But what I'm saying is that Brian Kelly, his style of recruiting is that he's overseeing the entire program and making sure that everybody's on task, on time, going after their targets. But he has a list within the list, right? I mean, there's a board inside of the LSU football ops that has probably 60 names on it that says, these are our must-gets. These are our wants, and if we miss some of these are where we're falling into and getting these. And then from that list, Brian Kelly takes about 5 or 6 and says, these are my guys. I'm going to make sure everybody's doing their work, and I'll recruit wherever you need me to be, right? If you need me on the phone, if you need me texting, if you need me on a Zoom, if you need me face-to-face with somebody, just let me know. But I will be working these 4 guys for sure, right? With whoever the lead recruiter is, right? And for Keelan Moses, I mean, it's the cavalry. I mean, Keelan Moses is the type of player that he has no doubt that LSU wants him, or anybody, because the lead recruiter is the best recruiter on staff, and this is probably everywhere. This is probably the strategy that all of the big-time schools are using on players like Moses, especially when he's a local guy, right? Put your best recruiter on him. Who's the best recruiter on staff? Frank Wilson. Put him on Moses and let him just do his job, right? But let him hear from Matt House. Let him hear from Jimmy Lindsey. Is that the new defensive line coach? Let him hear from Brian Kelly. Let him hear from the entire staff. The best recruiting story I've ever heard is Jamar Chase's recruiting story. And if you've never heard it, one of the first things that Orgeron did when he got the job, and one of some of the feedback that Orgeron was getting from Jimmy Chase and the people down in New Orleans was that they didn't feel the love. They weren't feeling it. They knew LSU wanted him, but they didn't feel like he was a top priority. So Orgeron, in true Orgeron, and this is where O is great, right? In these scenarios, he calls LSU and gets the 2 Sprinter vans and loads up the entire staff. And I'm telling you, anybody who could go in-house, and this is all 10 position coaches. So he's got, not only does he have Mickey Joseph, the wide receiver coach there, not only does he have Steve Ensminger, the offensive coordinator there, he's got Dave Aranda there. He's got Corey Raymond there. He's got Ed Orgeron there. He's got every single coach on staff pulls up in 2 Sprinter vans to the Chase's house in Marrero and unloads the entire LSU football staff into their living room. Orgeron sits across from Jimmy Chase. Feel the love now, baby? Go Tigers. Next thing you know, Jamar Chase is maybe the best wide receiver in LSU history.
It's so true. God, you have to love him.
Had to win the daddy.
You feel the love now?
like leading up to it. You know what I mean? Like, Jimmy Chase said he don't feel the love, boys.
Hey, everybody in the bus.
Jimmy, I mean, we bringing the love,
We
Jimmy.
showing love.
He's on the phone with.
That's unbelievable.
Where's Miss T at?
Yeah.
Tell her we bringing the love. She got to cook for 10 today.
Then talk to his daddy.
I mean, like, the whole staff's up in the living room. You know what I mean? Like, sitting on the couch eating gumbo. I mean, just like, what's your name? I'm Corey Raymond. I'm the defensive backs coach. I mean, this is what Les Miles wanted you to play, but
I don't want him over here. I
He's
want
going
him
to
on
be a
the
top
other
5
side.
wide receiver.
I mean, you could even go back to Ed Orgeron recruiting stories, what he did to try to get Adrian Peterson.
Adrian Peterson, Rashard Lawrence. I mean, like, the Rashard Lawrence recruiting story is fantastic. I mean, people don't understand how close Ohio State was.
Really?
Oh, absolutely. LSU and Ohio State was neck and neck. And this is when Orgeron's the defensive line coach. And he's, like, selling on his interview to Les Miles, like, hire me and I'm getting everybody. And, like, Miles is like, well,
You do recruiting.
you got to go get Rashard Lawrence because nobody will talk to me in North Louisiana.
Yeah.
I mean, Saban's cut everybody off for me. I mean, nobody would even take Les's phone call in North Louisiana. And so Orgeron's got to go back up there and build the bridge himself. I mean, he's slamming Red Bulls, driving the Hummer.
His favorite thing to do.
I mean, just
Gross.
born on the bayous.
Oh my God.
The
It's like my personal hell, all of that you just said.
You got to stop for gas again. And Red Bull. Just drink the Petrol.
But, I mean, like, if you could put him in that role,
I know.
I'm telling you, that's where he would be his best self. Like, that's where he would be the ultimate.
Don't worry about the day-to-day.
Right.
Where's Ed? Recruiting, probably.
It's true, man. I mean, like, everybody. Somebody told me this the other day, and it's a great line. You're not going to own the jet, but you're going to be on the jet. Right? Like, in some circumstances, you just got to realize, like, I don't know if I'm built to be a head coach. And I think, like, for somebody like Frank Wilson, I don't know this for sure, but I talked to him a lot when he was assistant coach the first time at LSU. I talked to him a lot when he was a head coach at Texas San Antonio and McNeese. And I talked to him a lot now that he's back at LSU. He seems a lot more refreshed, relaxed, in his lane, doing what he does, very comfortable. When he was a head coach, he loved it. He loved it. I got to go talk to the booster. You know what I mean? I got to go deal with the academic. I got to go deal with that. Wouldn't you rather just be recruiting on the road? Absolutely. You know what I mean? Like, I would love to just be doing what I want to be doing, what I love to do, right? Saturdays were worth it being a head coach, right? It's your program. You know what I mean? It's your deal. I mean, it's the wins and losses are on you. So, I mean, it's worth it all. But at the end of it, not everybody's built to be in that position, especially in sports, because sports is such a team-oriented thing, right? You do this great. You do that great. You do that great.
Run.
Right? Like, you just go do that stuff great and don't worry about the other stuff. Some roles, you got to worry about so many other things, even though you got to be great at what you do. And there's some people out there that are masterful at that, right? I mean, look at the greats. I'm reading Bill Walsh's book right now. I mean, that is a genius. I mean, like, that guy is built to be a leader. I mean, built to be someone that is in charge of others, someone that is overseeing and organizing the entire operation. I put full trust in that guy. You know what I mean? Like, you tell me where you want me to be and then let me sprint. But as long as I do it within the parameters of what you're telling me to do, I feel like we're going to be successful. Some people can't see like that, right? I mean, in that same meeting that I was having the other day when somebody was saying, look, man, you may not own the jet, but you'll be on the jet. It's when you're working, you're looking here when you should be looking here, right? It's just the view of, hey, I got to do exactly what's in front of me, or I got to be looking and making sure 100 yards in front of me that everything's going to be clear when we get there, right? And some people are just taskmaster. Frank Wilson is a taskmaster. Go get Leonard Fournette, all right? Go get Devin White, all right? Go get whoever is on the board that he wants, right? Go talk to the boosters. Ugh. Go deal with the academic people. Ugh. That takes me away from what I do best. That takes me away from really energizing and making the program the best it can be, right? And I think once he kind of realized, like, that's what I want. I mean, when that call came from Kelly and he said, how would you? Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. 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 You don't even know how much you're going to pay you. I'm in. I'm in.
Matter. Get the duster.
I'm in. Right. You got that leather jacket? Right. I mean,
Batman's getting suited up again.
But if I could recommend any book, I would tell you that Bill Walsh's book, and the name of the book is it's fantastic because Bill Walsh used to say it around the facility all the time. The score will take care of itself.
That's an offensive coach.
But moreover, it's a leader. Mm-hmm. You can take his principles, you can take his teachings, and you can take his philosophy, and you can whatever arena you're in, whether you're a football coach or whether you're a CEO, you can institute these principles. You remember when Ogeron used to always talk about the standard of performance? Standard of performance. He got it from that book. It's from Bill Walsh's book. Bill Walsh would talk about the San Francisco 49ers standard of performance that he built when he got there, and it was everything from if you were an executive within the organization, you wore a tie every day. If you were not an executive within the organization, you wore a collar every day. If you were a trainer, that gave you could wear a T-shirt. That was it. But if you saw somebody without, he said like one of the vice presidents one day like came open collar and kind of like tested him in front of everybody. You know, the guy was like good at his job. He was somebody that was successful. Felt like he could kind of skirt the rules a little bit. Came in, open collar, no tie. What are you doing? What do you mean? We just signed that guy. I know, but where's your tie at? Well, I mean, I don't like to wear ties. Oh, well, I didn't ask you if you like to wear ties. Where's your tie?
The rules are the rules.
Is when he moved that guy out of the meeting, he looked around and everybody's, oh, shit. You know what I mean? Like, if he's going to throw this guy out, I better wear my tie and do my job, right? And, I mean, it's just – and it's not all like that, but it's just – it's great examples, great leader. That guy is a leader, built to be a leader. Not everybody's built to be in that role. And I think once you can accept that, once you can – get on board with that, you can be your best. Frank Wilson's cleaning up in recruiting right now. You know why? He's just being Frank Wilson. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, he didn't have to do anything else. He didn't have to go out there and shake hands and kiss babies. He's just getting out there and getting 5 stars. He does that great. Chris Demouy next here on the Jordy Culotta Show, built by R&B Builders. Donaldsonville Glass and Body, the trusted name in frame, body, and automotive paint repair since 1977. They have served their customers for over 45 years. You can find them online at dgbauto.com or stop in and see them Railroad Avenue and Division Street out in Donaldsonville, Louisiana. Look, they can help you with your insurance claims. They can make the repair process as stress-free as possible. I'm speaking from experience here. I've got numerous windshields, body repair, all done by Kenny and the crew over at Donaldsonville Glass and Body. They are, without question, the most well-equipped shop in the area. Stop in and see them today. Shop them online, dgbauto.com, or stop in and see the crew over in Division Street in Donaldsonville, Louisiana. Donaldsonville Glass and Body. Hey fellas, it's Jordy Culotta for my friends over at Men's Total Health. Guys, do you suffer from fatigue, decreased libido, erectile dysfunction, weight gain or loss of muscle mass, signs of depression, anxiety, hair loss, mental fog, general loss of interest? Then you might be suffering from low testosterone. Go see my friend Mike Roach and his great team over at Men's Total Health, over in Metairie at menstotalhealth.net online. And stop in and see how they can change your life today. A simple shot and some knowledge from Mike Roach can get you back up, moving with your energy, get your sex drive back, build your muscle mass, make you feel young again. All online, menstotalhealth.net. Red Stick Sports, a local staple in Baton Rouge to all sports fans, was founded back in 1981 and has remained a family business for over 40 years. Today, they still have the great selection on the floor, but they're also a leader in custom apparel for businesses, sports teams, and other groups. Take it from us, everybody over here at FM Digital Media. They help us out with all of our apparel. Let them help you out today. Go ask for Cody over at Red Stick Sports. Check him out online at redsticksports.biz.
We're all from different places and backgrounds. We've each experienced our own versions of life, but in the end, we're all on the same team. I'm part of that team, along with these players in purple and gold.
Kayshawn Buddha, Malik Neighbors, Miles Frazier,
Kyron Lacy,
Greg Brooks.
Whether on the field or in the courtroom, your team matters.
So join our team.
Make a difference.
Bet. Let's get it done.
The Jordy Culotta Show is brought to you by A-Bears Lawn Maintenance. Commercial or residential, A-Bears Lawn Maintenance is ready to work. A-Bears can tackle all your homeowners association requirements. Call Blake at 225-485-8022. A-Bears Lawn Maintenance.
In a wreck, Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys is ready to go to work for you. Come meet your team.
I'm your intake specialist. I coordinate your case and connect you with your attorney and paralegal.
That's us, your legal team.
Here we go.
Thanks. And we'll fight to get you every dollar you deserve.
I'm your settlements and disbursement manager, and I'm here to get you paid on time.
I'm attorney Gordon McKernan. Put our team to work today. Just call us. Get it done.
Are you looking for sound financial advice? Then get in touch with Daniel Newman of Edward Jones. You can call him today at 225-261-8262 or email him daniel.newman@edwardjones.com. If you're planning for retirement, saving for college for children or grandchildren, or just looking for sound investment opportunities, get in touch with Daniel today, 225-261-8262, located on Magnolia Square Drive in Central. Daniel Newman of Edward Jones.
Hey Tiger fans, when you're traveling through Natchez, Mississippi, make sure to visit Tom and Wright Granning at Go-Mart and On The Go Deli, where you can fill up your tank and your belly. Go-Mart has clean restrooms, community coffee, an awesome beer cave, and a great selection of anything you may need on your trip. Located at 4 Sergeant Prentice Drive as you're entering Natchez on the left. Also stop by Wardo's Po' Boys at 309 North Broadway on the beautiful Natchez Bluff, where the Po' Boys are so good you'll swear you're in Cajun country.
Welcome back here. Jordy Culotta Show is always built by our friends over at RMB Builders, Rhett Bourgeois and the crew at rmb-builders.com. Been looking forward to our next guest. Been telling you all week, Chris Demouy, former LSU pitcher, getting in here, talking LSU baseball. Host of the 60 Feet 6 Inch podcast that you can find on Twitter. And it's a great listen if you're looking for some LSU baseball material to check in on, especially from one of the former Tigers himself in Demouy, who you can follow on Twitter as well at C Demouy. Chris is here back with us in studio. Chris, good to see you, buddy.
Good to see you too, man. Thanks for having me on, buddy.
Yeah, bro. How was Omaha?
A blast. It was good, and we were just talking before the break. That's the first time I've been up there since I played, so haven't seen the new stadium. And we actually stayed. My wife pulled some magic, so we stayed literally across the street from the entrance. Like, we walked out of our hotel, and I could. Even though I got a raggedy arm, I could hit the entrance to the stadium, and just that
soft tosses.
Yeah, that's right. I could Trey Morgan it to home. So it was a blast, man. And everything they've done with like the Omaha Village, and just the shops and the cool places to eat. I would say, if you're a fan of baseball, it's almost a must do. It's tough, right? Because it's late and it's expensive. It's very expensive. But we were there for the first weekend. My son and I, we had a blast. It was awesome.
So you've got great perspective on this because maybe before this year, you were on the best LSU baseball team in the history. I think 97 has, you kind of even within the fraternity, people are like, the numbers were different around y'all. You know, y'all were doing a little bit something different than other teams were doing. And then you may have been on the best team that didn't win it in 98.
Right. Yeah.
What do you make of this team that goes preseason number 1, stays pretty much half the year in that spot, they fall to number 2, and then they get to Omaha and beat the teams that they did and win the championship in the fashion that they did?
Yeah.
I think they knocked off 97, in my opinion. But you tell me. You're in the frat.
Well, I'm always going to ride with my guys.
Sure,
So everybody, Matsu, they're all going to think they're the best. But in different era, it's just so tough to compare era across baseball, right? Everything they have at their disposal, the analytics, the whole bigger, faster, stronger thing is absolutely true, right? Nobody's going to have a Paul Skeens on their team, you know, or even a Dylan Cruz. But I think when you look at what they did in terms of the pressure hasn't really been on LSU and the expectations lately until what you saw what they had this year with what Jay brought from the portal and what they had returning. And to live up to that hype is my generation was used to it because I learned how to win from other guys that had come before me. And I think I expected them to get to Omaha, but once they got to Omaha, it's kind of all bets are off, you know, right? You never know what's going to happen when you get there, who's playing hot.
It's the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
Right?
So, but then the run that they went on and the pitching staffs that they went through, Wake Forest, the number 1 pitching staff in the country statistically, and don't even get me started on who they played because those guys are dudes. Tennessee and the immense amount of talent they had on that team. And to come through the losers bracket and the gauntlet, and it's when you get there, it's always somebody random has to step up. And it was Nate Ackenhausen. It was the bullpen. You know, on my podcast, I talked about the Louisiana kids all stepped up, right? Dugas and Beloso and Morgan and Pearson and Jobert, Malazzo, Travinsky, the list goes on. But I think when we take a step back from it, we're still basking in that glow. You'll realize the talent that was on that team, the run they made. Florida was no slouch, obviously, uber talented. They're going to be right up there with the best LSU teams ever, for sure.
I mean, they bounced Wake in a 3-game series and beat Tennessee in the middle of it.
They bounced Wake in a bullpen game. They just cobbled dudes together, and they looked around the room. They're like, can you throw today? Can you throw today? And Griffin Herring goes, I'll get you 4 1/3. That dude is a dude.
80 pitches, Coach?
Coach, Griffin Herring stuff plays. And he's like, yeah, I'll do it. I won the Texas 6A state championship last year, but I'll throw today in Omaha.
And then I'll take the mic.
The concern around the bullpen in the midseason was it was broken.
It was real.
It was broken. What was your concern level? And then when you saw them perform down the stretch, how – I hate to use the word surprise, but what was your reaction to that?
My concern level with the bullpen was it was real late in the season. You know, you had the Mississippi State debacle, right, where nobody could get anybody out. They lost Auburn series, I believe, the week before, so they're coming off back-to-back series loss. But then I thought they went to Georgia and figured some things out. They took 2 out of 3. Thatcher Hurd gives up like back-to-back solo home runs, I think in the Thursday night game.
Right.
To where, and to me, he stayed in the game, and he's like, okay, I got this. And they came back to win. But
that was kind of a Skip move, right, for Jay Johnson?
Yeah.
Usually,
yes.
like Skip, he would say, I'll sacrifice a loss for a win later.
Yeah, I agree.
That was kind of like, hey, Thatcher, you got us into this mess.
If
you don't get us out, we're screwed.
Yeah, and I think Jay was like, all right, man, like we need you to get there, so you need to figure this out, or we're going to have to go back and rewrite the plan. Because I think after the Mississippi State, I would imagine, I have no idea, but after the Mississippi State game, they probably got in the coaches' meeting and like, boys, we got to figure some stuff out in a hurry. And I think what you saw is they pared the bullpen down to like 4 or 5 guys.
Right.
And they're like, we're riding with y'all.
Right.
And if y'all can't get it done, then we can't get it done. And Hurd is like the flex guy, right? You can close, you can extend, you can start, and he's the wild card. But I thought in the SEC tournament they figured it out. Even though they lost, I thought they pitched well out the bullpen. And as y'all know, the regionals, you just got to win 3. The supers, you got to win 2. You got Paul Skeens, so you can check that box. That's a win. And you felt like Floyd could get you through 5 and get you enough with the offense. And so they just, they just relied on 4 or 5 dudes, and they figured it out. So masterful job by Jay and Wes Johnson. I don't know if Wes Johnson gets enough credit, but they figured it out at the right time, and they just rode with the guys they trusted, and that was enough.
What will this team be remembered for offensively? How good were they offensively in now that history can write it?
That's a great question. Well, Cruz right off the top of the bat, right? Generational talent. I don't think anybody's going to dispute that. I think
how good is he?
Really good. He's just I think LSU fans, we all appreciate him, but you're not going to appreciate him kind of like Burrow, right? Like you knew in the moment, like this guy, I mean, this is a dude. But I think when you look at the fact of the average, the consistency.
That's it, right?
The consistency, right? Year over year, to do it when you're a freshman from the jump.
Right.
The thing that stood out to me this year with Cruz is his defense. The jumps he gets on balls in center field and the plays that he made in Omaha, like gap to gap, bro, he goes and gets it.
A great DB, huh?
A great safety.
Yes,
He'd just be back there coming downhill clocking dudes.
or pick sixing.
That's I would love to have him when I pitched, but I had some great center fielders. But I would say offensively, it's just I felt like when you would look at the lineup card, you're like, there's no let up. At times you would be like, man, there's a lot of swing and miss. But on the flip side, you're like, man, when you got Joe Bear that can ride balls out the field at 450 feet, you got Pearson with some 2-out clutch hits at the end, Thompson and then Pearson. I just think the depth of the lineup to where there's just not a lot of let up in that lineup. As a pitcher, I always imagine myself facing this lineup, and it's one of those where you get past White, you get past Morgan, you look up, you're like, I got Dugas. That dude will get hit by anything.
Right.
Beloso's next. You're like,
oh my God.
Like, come on, man. Can we just roll over and get out of here? But it's just the depth of the lineup was really impressive.
Jay Johnson, coach. I mean, like I know now that he's got the championship, he's got it on the wall. But even before that, the way that I've kind of just analyzed him, broke him down, is that we've covered a lot of coaches, and I think by nature coaches are very overbearing, insecure, and even, a little psycho, right, about how they just obsess over their program. I've never seen anybody that's as connected to his team like he is. The move that he made with Beloso in the championship game, putting him in the top spot, the balls that takes to make that move on that day, right? And he never looked like it fazed him. And then once he makes the move, Beloso's 4 for 4 and Cruz is 4 or 5.
Yeah, it's and I saw your quote that y'all put out there on Twitter when y'all cut it up, and I agree. Like I started watching more of his pressers when he was in Omaha, and to see that just the way that he speaks, and he's like the same age as me, maybe 2 years younger. So I feel like I kind of connect with him, and he would be, my son is the same age as the guys on that team. So he would be coaching my son. So I kind of look at it from 2 different lenses. But, man, I love the way he talks. I get mini Skip vibes. I know that's a lot, and I may get hammered for that. But I get mini Skip, mini Saban vibes. Almost like
to Skip every day.
Yeah.
So, it has to.
The fact that he respects Skip and Paul and what they did, and he was growing up, like we talked about, during like the 98 and the 2000 teams, like he was playing. So when he's sitting in California watching the College World Series, like he gets it. Like he was in the middle of it as a player. And I disagreed or didn't understand a lot of the moves he made this year from the outside looking in. But in the end, you realize like sometimes he plays chess and other dudes are playing checkers.
He was playing the long game.
Yeah, and as you were just saying it, the Beloso move, I was like, let's just ride with it. Let's get weird.
Coach, it threw Caglione off.
It was
you can see Caglione was like, what am I looking at? Like
it's almost like I just thought about it when you were saying it, like that the Saban move to put Tua in at halftime, right, in the national championship game. He's like, no, like I get it. Like nobody knows it but me and the guys in this locker room. And this is by far and away the best thing. And
I'm gonna pull the trigger.
Yeah, and he made the move. I think the other thing too is you can tell he understands that you need to build it feels like he's going about building the program in the right way. He understands everything that LSU is. The expectations aren't too big. The fan base isn't too crazy or too big. Like he embraces it, and I almost feel like he sits back and he's like, y'all have no idea. Like in his house, he's like, you don't even know what's coming. So it's going to be a fun thing.
I'm with you. I asked it to Brian Kelly when I interviewed him, and I feel the same way about Jay Johnson when I just noticed him. To Brian Kelly, to me, it looks like this is football Camelot. He wears shorts around. He's got, you know what I mean? He's very relaxed. He's knowing like, I got everything I need.
Right.
I can win here.
Yeah.
Right? Jay Johnson has that same feel to him of this is a baseball heaven. You know what I mean? Like I can't, there's no more I could ask for to sell. And if I do need it, I get it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, Woodward's he's kind of dragging the SEC a little bit right now. I mean, he's just I've had that thought. I'm like, man. And for him to go out there and pluck Jay Johnson when I didn't have a clue who he was, really, and it's been pretty impressive. But I think he's thinking long-term success, but long-term success. Like, how do I run this back the next couple of years? What do I need? Putting the plan in place, from a stadium perspective, student-athlete perspective. Obviously, he's going to recruit at a high level, and I think from the portal, he's just going to go try to pick 3 or 4 dudes that he knows he needs to fill in gaps. And he's really impressive, though. Those post-game pressers that I caught were just the way he thinks about everybody's process-oriented now. But he just lives, eats, breathes baseball. He does, he lives close to the stadium on purpose, that whole deal. Like he gets it.
I mean, the Wake Forest game, he was like, that's one of the best moments of my life to his team. And like he came into the presser. It was like, I told the team it was like the best moment. It was like, I'm serious. Like that was one of the best moments of my life. Like people were like, holy. You can tell people were like, wow. Bro,
thank God they won.
Yeah, no doubt. The podcast is fantastic. And I
Thank
know
you,
that
man.
You and I had some early discussions on, and I'm sure you talked to a lot of people, but just to see where those discussions have gone and what the podcast is now, bro, it's awesome, man. Congratulations, really.
No, I appreciate it. Yeah. I sat down and you looked at me and you told me that, and I was like, I looked at you before you started, and I was like, I'm just trying to figure it out, man. I met with you a couple years ago, and I was like, I think I have this idea, and I've gotten a ton of support, a ton of help. I have so much respect for everybody in this room. I've told several people, like, it's a grind. Yeah. Like, I look back, I think I did like 51 episodes. It doesn't sound like a lot, but baseball is a long season. It's not 12 football games, and when you try to pay attention to every pitch and you just try to I was just trying to give people an insight into how I learned how to watch the game, maybe some things that are going on in their head, and that's the perspective that I try to bring. I'm not the end-all, be-all. I don't know everything. I have like zero inside scoop, a little bit, but I don't try to get into the weeds on that stuff, and I don't do like any player interviews. I leave that to other people. I just try to be objective and not there to bash kids. Just want to promote the program and maybe give people a way I look at the game, so when they look, they're like, that makes some sense. So,
and if that is the objective, as somebody that watches it, that's what I take away from it.
I appreciate that, brother.
Really,
that means a lot.
Like when I come away from it, I feel like I'm a little bit smarter of a baseball guy.
Yeah.
For somebody that didn't play it and you've seen it on the front line, you know what you're talking about. It's very obvious, and your opinion is well thought out. And if anybody's looking for good LSU baseball programming, check out 66 Inch Podcast hosted by my boy Chris Demouy. Great to see you, bro.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it, man.
Absolutely. We got Chris Blair coming up, and we got Nathan Velasquez coming up here on a Friday. Make sure to hit that like, share, comment button. We'll be back with more of the show built by R&B Builders. Donaldsonville Glass and Body, the trusted name in frame, body, and automotive paint repair since 1977. They have served their customers for over 45 years. You can find them online at dgbauto.com or stop in and see them Railroad Avenue and Division Street out in Donaldsonville, Louisiana. Look, they can help you with your insurance claims. They can make the repair process as stress-free as possible. I'm speaking from experience here. I've got numerous windshields, body repair, all done by Kenny and the crew over at Donaldsonville Glass and Body. They are, without question, the most well-equipped shop in the area. Stop in and see them today. Shop them online, dgbauto.com, or stop in and see the crew over in Division Street in Donaldsonville, Louisiana. Donaldsonville Glass and Body. Hey fellas, it's Jordy Culotta for my friends over at Men's Total Health. Guys, do you suffer from fatigue, decreased libido, erectile dysfunction, weight gain or loss of muscle mass, signs of depression, anxiety, hair loss, mental fog, general loss of interest, then you might be suffering from low testosterone. Go see my friend Mike Roach and his great team over at Men's Total Health, over in Metairie at menstotalhealth.net online. And stop in and see how they can change your life today. A simple shot and some knowledge from Mike Roach can get you back up, moving with your energy, get your sex drive back, build your muscle mass, make you feel young again. All online, menstotalhealth.net. Red Stick Sports, a local staple in Baton Rouge to all sports fans, was founded back in 1981 and has remained a family business for over 40 years. Today, they still have the great selection on the floor, but they're also a leader in custom apparel for businesses, sports teams, and other groups. Take it from us, everybody over here at FM Digital Media. They help us out with all of our apparel. Let them help you out today. Go ask for Cody over at Red Stick Sports. Check him out online at redsticksports.biz.
We're all from different places and backgrounds. We've each experienced our own versions of life, but in the end, we're all on the same team. I'm part of that team, along with these players in purple and gold.
Sean Buddha, Malik Neighbors, Miles Frazier,
Kyron Lacey, Greg Brooks. Whether on the field or in the courtroom, your team matters.
So join our team.
Make a difference.
Bet. Let's get it done.
The Jordy Culotta Show is brought to you by A-Bears Lawn Maintenance. Commercial or residential, A-Bears Lawn Maintenance is ready to work. A-Bears can tackle all your homeowners association requirements. Call Blake at 225-485-8022. A-Bears Lawn Maintenance.
In a wreck, Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys is ready to go to work for you. Come meet your team.
I'm your intake specialist. I coordinate your case and connect you with your attorney and paralegal.
That's us, your legal team.
Thanks.
And we'll fight to get you every dollar you deserve.
I'm your settlements and disbursement manager, and I'm here to get you paid on time.
I'm attorney Gordon McKernan. Put our team to work today. Just call us. Get it done.
Are you looking for sound financial advice? Then get in touch with Daniel Newman of Edward Jones. You can call him today at 225-261-8262 or email him daniel.newman@edwardjones.com. If you're planning for retirement, saving for college for children or grandchildren, or just looking for sound investment opportunities, get in touch with Daniel today, 225-261-8262, located on Magnolia Square Drive in Central. Daniel Newman of Edward Jones.
Hey Tiger fans, when you're traveling through Natchez, Mississippi, make sure to visit Tom and Wright Granning at Go-Mart and On The Go Deli, where you can fill up your tank and your belly. Go-Mart has clean restrooms, community coffee, an awesome beer cave, and a great selection of anything you may need on your trip. Located at 4 Sergeant Prentice Drive as you're entering Natchez on the left. Also stop by Wardo's Po' Boys at 309 North Broadway on the beautiful Natchez Bluff, where the Po' Boys are so good you'll swear you're in Cajun country.
Welcome back. Jordy Culotta Show is always built by R&B Builders. Making our boy Nate Velasquez hang on a little too long. That's our fault here on this Friday morning. It's good to link up back with our boy Nathan here on this summer Friday weekend up in the city.
Nate just jumped out. Oh, he's back. He's back.
Nate, how we feeling? You got us?
Wish I could hear.
Nathan?
Oh, here.
Yeah, he's not
Oh,
unmuted
where?
yet. Relax. Nate? He cannot hear us. Or we can't hear him. He had audio, and he didn't have audio.
Nathan?
Now he's frozen.
No.
Nate.
Nathan, we're blaming this on you. Clean this up, and we will be right back with you.
I mean, didn't he used to produce?
I thought he did.
Nathan, turn it off and turn it back on.
Unplug it and plug it back in.
Rejoin the link.
Make sure to hit that like button, share button, comment button if you don't mind. Remember, daily, we're brought to you by Katie's Restaurant. Katie's is located down in New Orleans on Iberville Street. You can find them there, right in the heart of Mid-City. Has great New Orleans favorites, the coldest beer in town. You can always find them online at katiesinmidcity.com. katiesinmidcity.com is where you can find them online.
Yep.
As always, one of our favorites on Iberville Street. Nathan Velasquez is here back with us on a Friday. Nate, how are you? Good morning.
Jeez, Nate. Hold up. He like, it goes clear, and then he looks like he jumped out again.
Nathan. Nate.
Come on, Nate. Give me something. It's not good, Nate.
Don't worry about it. All right, so we're going to talk to Chris Blair here coming up at 8:15 this morning. More LSU discussion with Blair as we talked it with Chris Demouy, and good stuff with Demouy. We asked Chris, I should have asked him this on air. I wanted to, and we didn't. But how you regulate these guys this summer with the season going so deep into the year, right? Do you what do you do with summer ball? I mean, like he brought up the example of Griffin Herring, and I think that's a fantastic example. I mean, Griffin Herring goes deep into the college baseball year. He's got an extended outing, his last game out. Do you want to send him to the Cape? Do you want to send him to a league where he's pitching so many innings that, for a year that's already started? I think that's some of the discussion that Jay Johnson, the staff, everybody's kind of having within internally to really kind of figure out summer plans for what's going on. So, I think Ronnie Rance and the Baton Rouge Rougarou are going to be big benefactors to this, with LSU having success and feels like they're going to have success continuously, consistently through Jay Johnson's reign. That you will see them playing deeper into the year, and the Rougarou could be a big someone who sees an advantage of that because look, they're right here local. You have the opportunity to know they're getting developed in a good program. Rooster South Hall and the crew do a good job of teaching and developing. Like we said, I mean, you can really regulate them here, especially your pitchers. I mean, I know Gavin Guidry is going to play for the Rougarou this year, and he's not going to be a pitcher, right?
No.
I don't think he's pitching.
I mean, I would imagine if Rooster South Hall is managing it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I think he probably has had a couple conversations with Jay. Like, look, if you get into a tight game, don't throw Guidry out there in the ninth. Probably have him on a pretty strict pitch count to I'm sure he'll work at LSU and get his deal done there, but I would imagine it would not be at the Rougarou. Like, he's there to play shortstop and get some ABs.
And I'd love to see that.
Me too. I mean, that's a draw in itself. And like you said, I think the way that Jay Johnson likes to kind of keep in touch with everybody and kind of keep his thumb on the program, the Rougarou could have a real opportunity. And I'm not just saying that because Ronnie's our guy.
Me either.
Rougarou, I think it's an actual opportunity.
No,
I know, and it might be far-fetched, but it might not be because of who Jay is.
I don't think it is. I mean, I really don't. I mean, if you are Jay Johnson, and I mean, he doesn't lose his psychosis the day after the season ends. You know what I mean? Like, he probably becomes more of a psychotic when he can't see these guys every single day. So, I mean, if you have an opportunity to stash them with Rance in North Baton Rouge, at Goldsby Field.
Imagine.
I mean, go out there and watch Tanks and Guidry play on a Tuesday, and Ronnie Rance has got Gordon throwing the first pitch out and coaching first base.
Yeah. And then you have Jay, pseudo coaching from the stands. He'll just be back there watching.
You're going to have Gordon sending Tommy Tanks on an infield single. Go.
We could play some of these games in Alex Box.
Oh, man. You'll have all the national champs dressed out in Rougarou gear, man.
That would be amazing.
Ronnie might be sitting at the right place
at
the right time.
Oh,
I mean,
there would be nothing.
Of course. There would be nothing more Rance.
Apropos.
than this Rougarou the stock line, which has been nosediving for a decade for Rance just to pick this thing up. And the national champs jump on his back.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, the Rougarou is the biggest independent minor league baseball team in the country.
There goes that rivalry.
Right.
I mean, that could happen.
Who's that team in Georgia? The Banana Peppers?
The Savannah Bananas.
The Savannah Bananas.
I mean,
they're my favorite.
The Baton Rouge Rougarou.
Coming for you.
Bring the
Coming to a town near
Bring
you.
the swamp monster out. Come on, Casey McKenzie.
The Banana Peppers.
I do like the the Banana Peppers. Now I can't. The Savannah Bananas. They do
obsessed
have
with
one
them.
great rule. All of them are fun, but one rule that I would like to see implemented at least once is that if you hit a foul ball and it's caught by a fan, it's an out, like for a home game, which is electric.
That is a great
Imagine
one.
getting bottom of the ninth, like foul ball, and it's like,
my gosh.
and an opposing,
Damn it, Lloyd!
an opposing fan coming knocking it out of your hands.
Yes.
Talk about brawls. I mean, oh my God. Bring in Steve Bertman.
Is Nate over there still trying to get on?
He's on.
Nate's
Stop.
on.
No, Nate.
Nathan?
Nate's in there. He's just chilling. Nate.
Nathan?
Nathan for you.
We see you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah! It's good to hear you, Nate. Happy Friday. How are you?
Pretty good. I'm sorry. Look, if you want to put that on me, you can put that on me. Honestly,
we already
I
have.
got a flight early in the morning heading to the Bahamas, so my brain is like halfway
go.
not here.
Hey, hang on.
So that's that. I think that's what we got to blame it on.
This is on us. Why are we here? If you're in vacation mode, bro, good for you.
Well, I got the day off today, so I'm just kind of hanging out.
Where are you going in the Bahamas?
Well, I'm saying the Atlantis.
Oh,
Nice.
Nate. Watch out for Michael Jordy. He's
Yeah,
always there.
yeah.
And Dak. Go
Beyond
Dak.
I'm going. Yeah, we're hanging out.
A little one-on-one. We'll take Velasquez. Y'all take Jordan. All right, so
I'm
Nate.
going to produce this new show, so I'm not going to talk to him about what's going on here today.
Yeah, the NDA.
What am I gearing up here on this Barbie versus Oppenheimer
Versus Tom Cruise.
What is this, Nathan? This is a low point for the movies, right?
Well, I don't know about a low point. I mean, there's a bit of a battle going on right now. The idea is, so we're 3 weeks away. Like 3 weeks from right now, we're going to have Oppenheimer and Barbie are going to be fighting it out about who's going to be like winning the box office, who's going to come out on top. Warner Brothers, they've got Barbie. They've been pushing this movie so strong since like summer of last year. And then you've got Oppenheimer, a Christopher Nolan movie. With his movies, they always push them like even 18 months in advance. Like that's when we started to get we got our teaser trailer for that ahead of Nope. Like that was how in advance they were promoting this thing. And a little bit of backstory, like even deeper than just these like two big movies that are going to be facing off at the box office is back whenever Tenet came out. If you remember, that was going on like in the middle of COVID. So Christopher Nolan was like, we're putting this movie out. Like, I'm not like, we're going to put the movie out. If anyone wants to go see it, they're going to go see it. Warner Brothers was like, no, we're going to push it. We're going to push it. We're going to push it. And it got to the point that Christopher Nolan was like, fine. We had a 20-year relationship. We're never working together again. Christopher Nolan left the studio. This is his first movie he's ever made outside of Warner Brothers. He's making it with Universal. And it's just the weirdest thing that Warner Brothers is like, all right, our biggest movie of the year, Barbie, it's going to face off with your movie at Universal. So who's going to end up winning? I have no idea. It's weird that, I mean, you always get, similar movies are going to be fighting each other. Like recently you had Flash was fighting Spider-Verse, and then, go all the way, back to like the 60s. You had like Doctor Strangelove was facing off like another nuclear bomb thriller that was coming out. But a movie like this, you got the movies, they're so obviously you couldn't pick two more different types of stories, styles, atmospheres. But yeah, right now it looks like Barbie is the one that's predicted to win at the box office. But I don't know, you can't count Nolan out. Like the thing that's going to hurt Oppenheimer is that it's an R-rated movie. R-rated movies always have a tough time at the box office. But I have no idea. It's going to. Nolan is always able to surprise. He's kind of made his legacy is kind of strange ideas and pitches that end up making $2 billion. So I don't know what's going to happen, but it's one of the weirder matchups. In the end, whatever does better between the two, it will be. I don't know if you saw online. Tom Cruise is probably going to be the loser. His new Mission Impossible movie comes out a week earlier. He was at like a movie. It was one of the saddest. It felt kind of sad to see. Tom Cruise was at the movies in front of like a poster of, I think, Oppenheimer, holding a ticket and being like, I'm so happy that we're all competing for all of these wonderful movies. At the same time, it's like, dude, you're making so much noise out here trying to get this movie taken out of theaters because you want the new Mission Impossible and IMAX. You're kind of complaining about the date that you have. And now you're kind of out here like with like a sad, you're just holding up a ticket and being like, go watch all of the movies, please. Please go watch my movie.
Especially after the promotional tour he was on last summer for Top Gun. I mean...
Yeah. Oh, he was all out there. I got to say, something happened, though, because he was looking like 30-year-old Tom Cruise during that promotion. I feel like he's starting to kind of come into the age now. He's kind of looking. Do you remember whenever he was at the baseball game like last year?
Yes.
And he like just walked out of like plastic surgery or something. He looked like a bubble or something like that.
Yes, he's swollen.
Yeah, it was like right before he started. Yeah, it was very, very strange. And yeah, it's starting to catch up with him, I think. I mean, his movies are great. I'm going to go see the new Mission Impossible, but I don't know. I feel like Tom Cruise has always been like, he's like, you know, he's this like titanium movie star that you can't get. And I think the years are probably, you know, they're starting to get to him, but it's okay. He's still a great movie star.
One for Cody Boudreaux. Dune 2 releases and the new trailer. What do we think?
New trailer came out yesterday. It like a 3-minute trailer came out, so it gives like a ton of footage. It looks very spectacular. It looks good. It looks just as epic as the last one was. If you've read the first Dune novel, then you know that it's always been called an unfilmable book, and you know they kind of took care of that with the movie they put out, you know, in 2021. Really, really, really strong movie. If you have read the book, the first half of that book is just a lot of exposition. It is dense, a good read, but very, very dense. And they were able to make it just this. They were able to make it this story of betrayal, and they were able to make it very interesting. Like you've got all these types of species and planets and emperors, and they were able to make it very understandable and also give it an epic scale that I don't think we've really gotten from Hollywood since Lord of the Rings. And the second half of the book is just it's balls to the wall, really. Like it's when it's not being a flat out war movie, it's an acid trip. So I'm very interested to see how they're going to do this part of the story, because this part of the book is very, very, very weird. But if you haven't seen the trailer, do check it out, because it's just, you feel like you're right back there watching a movie like Lord of the Rings, or you're back watching the first Dune when it came out in theaters. It's just kind of like, it's a movie that it kind of demands to be seen on the big screen. It's obviously the best in Hollywood, working at the top of their craft. I'm a little bit worried if Timothée Chalamet is going to be able to do the transformation that the Paul Atreides character does in this movie. But I mean, based on what's in the trailer, it looks like he does a great job. Also, Christopher Walken is in this movie, and he's playing like a villain. He's playing almost like a Darth Vader-esque kind of villain, which I mean, there's the memes out there that are already saying like, look, I've got a fever and all I need, the only prescription is more spice. So like, Christopher Walken, he's become a little bit of a meme in the last, I feel like 15, 20 years. So that's kind of the trick I'm excited to see if they're going to be able to pull off. Are they going to be able to make him this very serious, ominous emperor villain, almost like a tyrant of the galaxy type of character? Are they going to be able to pull off? I'd love if they did. I feel like we haven't. The last like really fantastic Chris Walken performance, I can't probably Catch Me If You Can was the last one. I mean, he's never been bad in the last 2 decades, but that one kind of stands out as like really, really standout performance, Oscar nominated. If he's able to bring that again, and they're able to kind of, you know, bring the old Christopher Walken, I'm all here for it. Like it looks fantastic. The new Dune looks fantastic.
What are we reviewing this week?
Beyond the Spider-Verse. So if you've seen the first one and you liked it, then I would say you're probably going to end up rewatching it shortly after seeing the second one. I don't think I remember a movie that was so successful at foreshadowing, especially a blockbuster. When you watch the second one, it's quite shocking how much work they had done. Like, you know, the way that it goes in Hollywood, a movie's successful, then of course we had planned 8 of them. But this one, like, it's quite clear that they've actually carefully mapped out like 3 or 4 movies here. The world is built out very, very, very strong. And I mean, I'm not a fan of superhero movies. I was kind of done with Marvel after the end game. I felt like that was kind of like the end of an era with all that. Had not been following DC that much. It doesn't seem like they're offering anything that's all that intriguing. But this Spider-Verse series is really quite amazing what they're doing with this character, with the world. And it's the most important thing about these movies is not what Marvel does, which is kind of like quippy, weird, silly jokes, and then just, new superheroes and all the powers are the most important thing. Like, it's very much more of a coming-of-age movie that cares about that and cares about really, like, comedic elements, a good bit of horror elements as well. And then it just kind of, like, has the powers as kind of like a byproduct of that. But it puts its story first and its characters first, which I feel like you rarely get from a superhero movie. It'd be nice if superhero movies are going to stick around, that more of them would follow suit. But no, this one is really, really, really fantastic. The ending's a bit of a bummer because it's like, you're going to wait like another 4 years for the next one, but it's solid. I would check it out if you haven't seen the first one, then do go see the second one as soon as possible. It also sounds like they are putting out different versions of this movie in theaters. So like there's like 4 different versions with like small changes to various scenes to give you the kind of like jumping around in different dimensions feel. I've only seen it once, so maybe that's reason enough to go see it again.
Nathan Velasquez, he's the 5-minute critic. He was very patient. Thank you for working with us this morning and jumping on. Have a great trip and vacation, bro. Great to see you.
Yeah, see y'all later.
There he is, Nathan Velasquez from New York City, checking out this morning. We have Chris Blair, the voice, in studio next. Another national championship call for Blair and the crew. We'll talk about the memories and talk about the offseason coming up finally for Blair. What a couple of weeks off here before football season.
Football's coming right up.
We will talk to him about that and more coming up next year on the Jordy Culotta Show, built by R&B Builders. Donaldsonville Glass and Body, the trusted name in frame, body, and automotive paint repair since 1977. They have served their customers for over 45 years. You can find them online at dgbauto.com or stop in and see them Railroad Avenue and Division Street out in Donaldsonville, Louisiana. Look, they can help you with your insurance claims. They can make the repair process as stress-free as possible. I'm speaking from experience here. I've got numerous windshields, body repair, all done by Kenny and the crew over at Donaldsonville Glass and Body. They are, without question, the most well-equipped shop in the area. Stop in and see them today. Shop them online, dgbauto.com, or stop in and see the crew over in Division Street in Donaldsonville, Louisiana. Donaldsonville Glass and Body. Hey fellas, it's Jordy Culotta for my friends over at Men's Total Health. Guys, do you suffer from fatigue, decreased libido, erectile dysfunction, weight gain or loss of muscle mass, signs of depression, anxiety, hair loss, mental fog, general loss of interest? Then you might be suffering from low testosterone. Go see my friend Mike Roach and his great team over at Men's Total Health, over in Metairie at menstotalhealth.net online. And stop in and see how they can change your life today. A simple shot and some knowledge from Mike Roach can get you back up, moving with your energy, get your sex drive back, build your muscle mass, make you feel young again. All online, menstotalhealth.net. Red Stick Sports, a local staple in Baton Rouge to all sports fans, was founded back in 1981 and has remained a family business for over 40 years. Today, they still have the great selection on the floor, but they're also a leader in custom apparel for businesses, sports teams, and other groups. Take it from us, everybody over here at FM Digital Media. They help us out with all of our apparel. Let them help you out today. Go ask for Cody over at Red Stick Sports. Check him out online at redsticksports.biz.
We're all from different places and backgrounds. We've each experienced our own versions of life, but in the end, we're all on the same team. I'm part of that team, along with these players in purple and gold.
Sean Buddha, Malik Neighbors, Miles Frazier,
Kyron Lacey, Greg Brooks. Whether on the field or in the courtroom, your team matters.
So join our team.
Make a difference.
Bet. Let's get it done.
The Jordy Culotta Show is brought to you by A-Bears Lawn Maintenance. Commercial or residential, A-Bears Lawn Maintenance is ready to work. A-Bears can tackle all your homeowners association requirements. Call Blake at 225-485-8022. A-Bears Lawn Maintenance.
In a wreck, Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys is ready to go to work for you. Come meet your team.
I'm your intake specialist. I coordinate your case and connect you with your attorney and paralegal.
That's us, your legal team.
Here you go.
Thanks. And we'll fight to get you every dollar you deserve.
I'm your settlements and disbursement manager, and I'm here to get you paid on time.
I'm attorney Gordon McKernan. Put our team to work today. Just call us. Get it done.
Are you looking for sound financial advice? Then get in touch with Daniel Newman of Edward Jones. You can call him today at 225-261-8262 or email him daniel.newman@edwardjones.com. If you're planning for retirement, saving for college, for children or grandchildren, or just looking for sound investment opportunities, get in touch with Daniel today, 225-261-8262, located on Magnolia Square Drive in Central. Daniel Newman of Edward Jones.
Hey Tiger fans, when you're traveling through Natchez, Mississippi, make sure to visit Tom and Wright Granning at Go Mart and On The Go Deli, where you can fill up your tank and your belly. Go Mart has clean restrooms, community coffee, an awesome beer cave, and a great selection of anything you may need on your trip. Located at 4 Sergeant Prentice Drive as you're entering Natchez on the left. Also stop by Wardo's Po' Boys at 309 North Broadway on the beautiful Natchez Bluff, where the Po' Boys are so good you'll swear you're in Cajun country.
Hey, welcome back. Jordy Culotta Show, as always, built by R&B Builders. Shout out to Chris Demouy, former Tiger, host of the 60 Feet 6-Inch podcast, that you can catch anywhere you get your podcast, and Nathan Velasquez, who's the 5-Minute Critic. Next up is The Voice. We have not seen The Voice in 2 weeks. He was in Omaha for, right on the nose, 14 days. He left on the 14th day in Omaha. He was there bell to bell, called every single pitch. It was magical moment after magical moment. We were telling you the whole time. We were following it on the YouTube feed. We were TV down, sound up from the YouTube, and watching the calls, and the LSU Sports Radio Network. Blair, Thompson, Bill Franquez. Fantastic as always. Good to see you, my friend. Welcome back. Welcome home.
Yeah, it's good to be home, man. I was about to say, it hadn't been
2 years older now?
I feel like it. With those games, I got aged pretty quick, but there was a lot of people that didn't see me for 2 weeks. It was a hotel room that kept getting smaller and smaller, and then towards the weekend, that last weekend, it was like every hour. It was like, I thought this room was bigger, but it was fun to be there, man. I wouldn't want to trade it for anything in the world, just because I don't know how many times we were on this show talking about the expectations, the pressure, being the number one team, everybody saying, oh, they've got the most talent, and to be able to put it together, and that's a grind when you think about, the 8 games that they battled through. And it's kind of weird. Somebody asked me yesterday, the last 2 games were kind of lopsided. The first for Florida, and obviously the most important one for LSU. After all of the games for every team that made it up there, I mean, there really was they were tight battles. And, I guess it's a cliche, but it was kind of a storybook, kind of movie feel to all the storylines for this team in particular, with different players and different moves that Coach Johnson made that maybe kind of set people aback, and it all seemed to work. And I couldn't be prouder of that staff and that team. It's a good group of guys that deservingly so will go down as Louisiana legends for what they were able to pull off.
Really and truly, I mean, baseball is such a difficult game, and to go wire to wire. I mean, I guess the only time they were out of the number 1 spot, they were in the 2 spot. They ended up beating that team in a best-of-3 series that they had Tennessee jammed in the middle of in Omaha. It's a magical match. It feels a little reminiscent to 19's national championship in football, the way that it'll live in the lore of it. They beat everybody. They did. I mean, they were clear-cut the best team in the country.
Yeah, they were, and to be able to in a sport like baseball with 71 games total, as it turned out, to be able to be the last team standing, which, if you listen to any coach who has won a title there from any school, they will tell you, the ups and downs, the ebbs and flows of that season, and it just took belief. And I remember Doug Thompson said it, during that long Sunday afternoon in that rough game against Florida. He kept saying, they're going to be able to bounce back. LSU's been through this before. There's a precedent for having a game just really not go your way, but it not be the most important game. And you got to go back, and if you believe it, it can happen. And, he said there's one thing in Louisiana, with a team made up with a lot of Louisiana kids and some kids who had a lot of investment in that team, 5 and 6 years playing for the Tigers. He said Louisiana's not lacking of pride. And this team's got plenty of pride, and that's why he felt like they'd be in good shape on Monday. And as it turned out, they were. Turnabout is fair play. They put an absolute whipping on Florida in the game that actually mattered. And Bill Franquez said it Monday when we got to the ballpark. He said, guys, I know it was 24-4, but for all practical purposes, it could have been 5-4. It just didn't matter. Today's the day that mattered. And I think that was one of the themes that the staff hit on, because you could tell – after about they scored and got up by 10 runs, everything then the moves were made to set up Monday.
Right.
And I know that guys like Bryce Collins and Sam Dutton had to go out there and kind of took the wrath of that on Sunday. But what I think they should realize, and I think Doug mentioned this to them in the hotel, you guys helped win a national title with what you did on Sunday. And they should be commended for that. That's right. And again, the team as a whole just – what a fun team to watch, what a fun team to be around, and deserving to be the national champion.
Did you get an idea of the rough number of how many people were there from LSU? Just through television, it sounded like a home game. I know the place held 20,000. It looked 98, 99% LSU in the championship series. I'm not good at that stuff, guessing rough numbers like that, but it was just a sea of purple and gold.
I don't know the exact numbers, but even when we were there the first week when all 8 teams were there, it was clear LSU was head and shoulders more people in Omaha. And then once you got to that championship weekend, and, I've made no bones my feelings on the Florida Gators and Gainesville. I'm not a lover of any stretch of the imagination, but I'm not trying to demean their fan base. That weekend, it was, at my best guess, 5-1. Cool. Just in the city. If you went out on Friday or Saturday, Sunday, or even Monday afternoon, the blue and the orange stood out because everything else was purple and gold. It was, and then once we got to the games, it really was like that. And kudos to those Tiger fans, because there were some empty seats there on Sunday, which I certainly agree. I was thinking about letting Doug and Bill just handle like the 6th through the 9th inning. But there were a lot of fans who stayed there. And when Joe Bear hit that home run, when the game was well decided, there was a loud cheer. And, it's the other thing Bill and Doug kept saying, because they've been through so many of these, that you're looking for that one positive, that one momentum boost to get you through that game and to build on. And to have those Tiger fans still there when it was 24-3 and cheering when it's 24-4 is why LSU's fan base and LSU baseball is different from every other team in the country.
Yeah, Jay Johnson really he embraced that. You could see along this championship run, he was incredible.
He was
down the stretch. What was it about him that had him? I say he's the from my seat just covering LSU sport, he's the most well-connected coach to his team and program that I have seen. I think coaches by nature are obsessive, psychotic, insecure, and are just overbearing. He is so well connected. That move that he made for Beloso batting leadoff in the last game of the season, I think, is a great example of just knowing his team so defiantly.
Yeah, no, there's no question about it. Throughout the year, there would be times I would hear him tell his story, sometimes on his weekly radio show, where he would say, I kind of felt like something was off with one particular player or a group of players. And he goes, and yesterday we had a little one-on-one, and we talked it out. And I think, for kids who are, again, tons of pressure if you play LSU baseball. Doesn't matter whether you read Twitter or get on the internet. There's already pressure just being in that position. And I think Jay's very akin. He understands, got his finger on the pulse of how those guys are. And, again, the move to put Cade Beloso atop the order when, he'd been very effective against left-handers, almost unreal how good he'd been against left-handers on getting on base and also getting hits all season long. So you knew Caglione would get the start. You knew he was a little wild. His on-base percentage, Cade's, was incredible during the College World Series, both hitting the baseball and, again, great at bats and earning walks. So it's like, okay, you got Dylan Cruz and Tommy White and Trey Morgan. And if you can get Cade aboard, suddenly you got a pretty good shot with those next three of making something happen. Mm-hmm. Josh Pearson had done such a great job at the bottom of the order, again, not hitting the baseball, but getting aboard, which was setting up, again, the top of the order. Suddenly now, in every phase of that lineup in that particular game, LSU had a very good shot to have men on base with guys who could drive in runs.
Yeah.
And as it turned out, it was a brilliant move, and we all thought, Cade Beloso, leadoff hitter? And that's why Jay Johnson is Jay Johnson, and he's got a national title. First time ever a college coach getting his team to a title in his second year. So, yeah.
When did you start thinking of what your last call was going to be?
I didn't really think about it, and I'll tell you why. Because I'm working now with 8 years with Doug Thompson, who's the most superstitious man on the face of the earth. And I'm typically not superstitious at all, because as I've told him 1,000 times, what I do up here, what I say up here, has no effect on what those great student athletes do on the field. I have no impact whatsoever. But Doug is a little different. And so whenever you start trying to think ahead, and this goes back to earlier in the week and the week before, like when you think the game is in hand, we had so many close games that a play here or a play there doesn't happen or happens for the other team, the outcome is different. So I try now to not look ahead and to sit there. He probably would have smacked me if he'd have realized at some point late in that game, all right, guys, here's what we're going to do. All right? Like when this all goes down. Like that's just something we don't discuss in the booth. Yeah. The one thing I did wanted to make clear was it was amazing to me that Jay basically just a couple of days before, 2 years to the day, had been named the coach. And then the next day during his press conference said, I'm here to get LSU back to Omaha and back to the top of the college baseball world. And I think he also said back to the top of the SEC. And I mean, that's not coming in saying, guys, I want to win a bunch of games and I want to win titles. I mean, that's saying I'm going to get us to Omaha and I'm going to get us a national championship. That's Babe Ruth, you know what I mean? I mean, that's basically to say that's what I'm here to do. Right. And because I know that he does nothing 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365, that doesn't have an impact on LSU baseball. I mean, that's all he does. And, I mean, I think Tiger fans, and I know they do, but they should appreciate the fact that he is nonstop. How do I get this team better and how do we win? So that was the only other thing I kind of wanted to get in there. And I also know that it's an impressive run that LSU has had after what Skip Bertman has built here, and it had been 14 years. And for this fan base, that's a long time, and I understand why. So I wanted to somehow convey the message that, okay, everything's reset now. LSU is atop the college baseball world. They are the national champion. They've got 7 of them now, which is second of any other program in the country. And we all should be pretty much thinking that it's going to be a routine thing now for the next several years.
Feels like it.
That's all I was trying to do, but I didn't write it down. And I've told you before, if I do that, I'll screw that up.
Screw it up.
I'll screw it up.
It was a great call. I listened to it organic in the moment, and it felt so organic. It felt like it was right from the heart, and it played well. So outside of that call, I would vote the Trey Morgan bunt play was your best call of the tournament. Just because I listened to all of it. The Tommy White walk-off was fantastic. But the Morgan, both of them, plays at the plate were fantastic calls. But the one that he fielded, flipped, tagged out, I mean, like right now I can hear your call and I have chills. Was there a moment for you that stood out throughout this entire run?
Well, that one is because I think if that doesn't happen, I'm not so sure we're national champions. I mean, that would have been such a momentum swing. And again, at a crucial time in the game where it puts your back against the wall again, it was just incredible. And there's not a first baseman, say I'm biased, I don't care, there's not a first baseman makes that play
agree.
in the country than Trey
I
Morgan.
agree.
But I got to be honest, the special one for me was Jordan Thompson on Monday to score the first run. I mean, to drive in the first run after he had been much maligned, and Jay was so clear and resolute in the fact that LSU wouldn't be there if Jordan Thompson hadn't been the shortstop this year, and he's right.
I loved his answers on Thompson.
Oh, and I mean, he fired that back quicker than
it was awesome.
It was like a forehand in Wimbledon. As soon as the question came out,
sit down.
Yeah. And for Jordan to come in there, and then the crowd that was there to be chanting his name as he came to the plate. Florida had started the game with a 2-run homer by Wyatt Langford, and you're like, oh, wait a minute, I saw this yesterday, and this movie sucks. And Jordan gets up there and has the opportunity to drive in a run and, laces that ball to left field. And it was almost for me like, okay, this is done now.
Yeah.
This is over.
Right.
And it started the first run of the game, and eventually LSU scored 18. And the funny thing is, Doug Thompson says on the call after I get done, he goes, I'm proud of this boy, so happy for this young man. I hope he gets 3 more. I think Doug was referring to hits or RBI because he ended up with 3 RBI in the game. And,
I thought he was going to get the last 3 outs of the game.
Yeah, he got the first 2 outs. I mean, so that to me is the special moment because he's a good kid.
That's a great one.
He's a great player. And the fact that Jay Johnson has never wavered in his support, even going back to last year, says a lot about your point earlier about understanding these kids and believing in them. And he did, and Jordan delivered.
Yeah. That play Josh Pearson made, too.
Oh, my goodness. It was probably my worst call of the series. Because I literally, in that moment, as that ball was headed to left field, because our booth was positioned on the first baseline, I'm like, ball game.
Yeah.
I mean, when it came off the bat, I'm like, yeah, there we go.
Right.
And then he made the call, and I was just like,
out.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was just amazing because I literally saw the season ending.
No doubt.
On that shot. But, man, Josh Pearson, how about West Monroe? They got to be proud of their young man. Again, just the storylines, Jordy, that, Josh didn't play a whole lot in the non-conference.
Yeah, I know.
He started at Texas A&M, which I thought was odd because I'm like, we hadn't seen Josh all year, but now he's going to start in the SEC on the road and had a really good series. And then he was off and on. And then when we got to crunch time down the stretch, I mean, whatever Jay and his staff saw, they were like, we got to have him on the field. We got to have him at the plate. And he was super valuable. Hayden Travinsky, I mean, what else can you say? Cade Beloso, is there a guy you could be more happy for than that young man? Gavin Dugas, I mean, these kids are special, and that's why I think you mentioned being akin to the 19 team in football. I think because of the makeup of this team, the Louisiana base that is there, and I've said this before, Twitter is a fine tool to promote and get things out there, but 99% of Twitter is sheer nonsense. I mean, it's just nonsense. And if you spend your whole day looking at it, you're really wasting a lot of your time. And I saw where people were saying LSU had built this team, best team money can buy, and all these transfers. And I'm like, you obviously have not watched a single game. You know nothing about this roster. And the fact that those Louisiana guys who grew up wanting to play for the purple and gold and wanting to imitate their heroes that were playing at the time, to be able to put this together is, again, why I think it's so special, and I think why these guys will be beloved. And whether you're Riley Cooper or Jordan Thompson or Cade Beloso, I mean, you'll never have to pay for a meal or a drink in Louisiana the rest of your life, and good for them.
Are you off now? I mean,
yeah.
Like how long? Like when do you start this?
As soon as I get done with you.
Yeah,
Nobody's going to see me for 45 days.
Man.
No.
What do you do here? I mean, this is like truly like the window.
Well, yeah, I go reintroduce myself to the family. They give me a place to sleep again.
It's been a fortnight.
And
guy's back.
we go and do some fun stuff as a family, which is important because it is I don't get to do a lot of that during the year. So we'll do some stuff like that. Yeah. But I mean, there's football, like you guys said before you went to break. I mean, it's right around the corner, so there'll have to be some work done for that. But it's not. I'm not. Now when I'm traveling, it's sheerly for recreation.
Good, man. Good.
But hey,
Good.
No complaints. I mean, to be able to do what I do, I'm blessed, and to get to follow these teams like I do and be around these coaches and get to experience those moments like Omaha, which I'd never experienced before, was, I mean, I can't even put into words what that means. So I don't want to sound like I'm complaining. It's just going to be fun for the next 45 days or so to do some other things that are non-sports related for the most part, and then gear up for football, because I don't know if anybody paid attention, Jordy, but this is the second year for Brian Kelly. So, no pressure.
I said on Wednesday morning, I bet Kelly's getting into work a little early today. I mean, they got pressure on that athletic
I'm sure
hall, man.
with Coach Kelly's dry sense of humor, I'm sure it's not lost on him at all. And I'm sure we'll hear some about it as we get closer to kickoff. But, hey, I'm excited for LSU football, too, because they're going to be really good. And it's going to be a fun year, I think.
What is the sports world going to do if LSU makes the Final Four in football and they got a natty in women's basketball already in the shelf? They got a natty in baseball already on the shelf.
I did SEC Now yesterday, and Alyssa Lang probably put it best. She said, "I got bad news for everybody in the world who hates LSU. It's going to be rough the next couple of years. It's going to be rough couple of years for you guys." So I think she put it best.
Woodward just showing off.
Yeah, I mean, he really is. He really is. Yeah. The one thing I'll say about Scott, and I've heard this from a lot of people that have been hired. I mean, obviously I was here before Scott was here, but he's been super good to me. And the theme in that building, no matter what you do, is whatever you're in charge of for LSU, we're not going to be second, and we're not going to follow anybody. So whatever your department is, you're going to be at the forefront. So be a trailblazer. And when I've talked to people who he's hired over the last couple of years, whether it be coaches or trainers or medical staff, whatever it is, at some point that comes into the conversation. Like, I'm going to hand you the keys to your department. The number one charge you have is we're not following anybody. We're number one. And, obviously that's been who he's hired as head coaches. I mean, those are the alphas of their sport that he's brought in here to Baton Rouge. And so when that's kind of the message, and then you see the coaches who are leading that way, it can't help but permeate through the rest of the building. So that, again, my little cog in the wheel, if you will, is radio. But I understand that they are expecting whatever's the latest, whatever the greatest, whatever the trend is, whatever is first and best. That's what we need to be chasing every day. So when that becomes your mantra for everybody in that building, it shouldn't be a surprise that suddenly you start to hang up all this success. So that, to me, is one of the biggest, I guess, compliments I can give Scott Woodward, is that it's pretty simple. You're in charge, but just know you got to be first.
Enjoy your time off.
Yeah, man.
Great season, man.
Yeah, man.
Chris
See
Blair,
y'all
the
soon.
voice, he's here every Thursday. Appreciate him for his time. When we come back, Stewie, good? Cole Kublik running it. We will have Cole Kublik, our interview with him from the SEC Network, talking some college football. Jordy Culotta Show, built by R&B Builders. Donaldsonville Glass and Body, the trusted name in frame, body, and automotive paint repair since 1977. They have served their customers for over 45 years. You can find them online at dgbauto.com or stop in and see them Railroad Avenue and Division Street out in Donaldsonville, Louisiana. Look, they can help you with your insurance claims. They can make the repair process as stress-free as possible. I'm speaking from experience here. I've got numerous windshields, body repair, all done by Kenny and the crew over at Donaldsonville Glass and Body. They are, without question, the most well-equipped shop in the area. Stop in and see them today. Shop them online, dgbauto.com, or stop in and see the crew over in Division Street in Donaldsonville, Louisiana. Donaldsonville Glass and Body. Hey fellas, it's Jordy Culotta for my friends over at Men's Total Health. Guys, do you suffer from fatigue, decreased libido, erectile dysfunction, weight gain or loss of muscle mass, signs of depression, anxiety, hair loss, mental fog, general loss of interest? Then you might be suffering from low testosterone. Go see my friend Mike Roach and his great team over at Men's Total Health, over in Metairie at menstotalhealth.net online. And stop in and see how they can change your life today. A simple shot and some knowledge from Mike Roach can get you back up, moving with your energy, get your sex drive back, build your muscle mass, make you feel young again. All online, menstotalhealth.net. Red Stick Sports, a local staple in Baton Rouge to all sports fans, was founded back in 1981 and has remained a family business for over 40 years. Today, they still have the great selection on the floor, but they're also a leader in custom apparel for businesses, sports teams, and other groups. Take it from us, everybody over here at FM Digital Media. They help us out with all of our apparel. Let them help you out today. Go ask for Cody over at Red Stick Sports. Check him out online at redsticksports.biz.
We're all from different places and backgrounds. We've each experienced our own versions of life, but in the end, we're all on the same team. I'm part of that team, along with these players in purple and gold.
Kayshawn Buddha, Malik Neighbors, Miles Frazier,
Kyron Lacy, Greg Brooks. Whether on the field or in the courtroom, your team matters.
So join our team.
Make a difference.
Bet. Let's get it done.
The Jordy Culotta Show is brought to you by A-Bears Lawn Maintenance. Commercial or residential, A-Bears Lawn Maintenance is ready to work. A-Bears can tackle all your homeowners association requirements. Call Blake at 225-485-8022. A-Bears Lawn Maintenance.
In a wreck, Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys is ready to go to work for you. Come meet your team.
I'm your intake specialist. I coordinate your case and connect you with your attorney and paralegal.
That's us, your legal team.
Thanks.
And we'll fight to get you every dollar you deserve.
I'm your settlements and disbursement manager, and I'm here to get you paid on time.
I'm attorney Gordon McKernan. Put our team to work today. Just call us. Get it done.
Are you looking for sound financial advice? Then get in touch with Daniel Newman of Edward Jones. You can call him today at 225-261-8262 or email him daniel.newman@edwardjones.com. If you're planning for retirement, saving for college for children or grandchildren, or just looking for sound investment opportunities, get in touch with Daniel today, 225-261-8262, located on Magnolia Square Drive in Central. Daniel Newman of Edward Jones.
Hey Tiger fans, when you're traveling through Natchez, Mississippi, make sure to visit Tom and Wright Granning at Go-Mart and On The Go Deli, where you can fill up your tank and your belly. Go-Mart has clean restrooms, community coffee, an awesome beer cave, and a great selection of anything you may need on your trip. Located at 4 Sergeant Prentice Drive as you're entering Natchez on the left. Also stop by Wardo's Po' Boys at 309 North Broadway on the beautiful Natchez Bluff, where the Po' Boys are so good you'll swear you're in Cajun country.
All right, welcome back here, Jordy Culotta Show, as always, built by our friends over at RMB Builders. Get in touch with RMB online at rmb-builders.com. Talking some college football and doing it with the best. Cole Kubelik, if you listen to this show, you know the respect we've got for Cole. He's over with the SEC Network, with ESPN. He's got his own YouTube channel that you can find and pick up great off-season information, great in-season information. It's called The Cube Show. If you want to jump on and subscribe now, it's a great follow and a great listen. A friend of ours back with us here is Cole Kubelik, talking some SEC and college football. Cole, good morning. Thank you for your time as always.
Good morning, Jordan. Good to be with you, man.
All right, lots to get to. SEC, you're doing a great off-season dive into the league and talking about position groups and players, best available players at positions. And one thing that is evident that is jumping out, and it really jumped out when you were talking about players at every position in the league, is that Alabama does not have the respect it seems that it has had in past off seasons going into another year with Saban. Obviously, you're in that state. You have a show that features and talks the state of college football in Alabama and beyond every day. What is the feeling around the Alabama program right now coming off of last season?
I think where we are, Jordy, it's still there's a lot of confidence. I think a lot of people believe it's Nick Saban. As long as he's here, they'll compete for an SEC championship and potentially be in the mix for a national championship. But it's outside this footprint, and when I say that, I don't just mean Birmingham. I mean mostly outside of the Southeast, where the people will say, "Oh, I can see 2 or 3 losses. I don't think they're going to be able to compete in the West. You know, they're on the tail end here. This is the downslope, sort of the beginning of the end. The demise has started there for Nick Saban in Tuscaloosa." And as you stated, I can't see it that way. I would still have LSU as the favorite in the West, but I think Alabama's neck and neck. I think they're right there with them. You got the best interior defensive lineman in the SEC, and the only reason Jaheim Otis would get that over Mason Smith is just number of games played. You've got Dallas Turner, I think the best edge defender in the SEC. I think you have the best cornerback in the SEC in Kool-Aid McKinstry. I think you have the best guard in the SEC in Tyler Booker. You don't go take the field, Jordy, and have 4 or 5 guys that are the best at their positions and not have a great chance to win some football games. And most of the people nationally will go to quarterback situations. Say, well, why do you bring in Tyler Buckner? You obviously don't have confidence in Jalen Milroe or Ty Simpson. Well, last time I checked, Ryan Day doesn't know who his quarterback is, and there's no shortage of people telling you how Ohio State can win a national championship. Georgia's got a first-year starting quarterback, and there's no shortage of people telling you they can win a national championship. So Alabama's not the only team that's got a quarterback problem or a new quarterback, or however you would like to describe it, as a non-returning starter that people have a ton of confidence in. So I think the wide receiver position collectively going to be really good. Running back collectively going to be really good. Tight end collectively going to be really good. And I never like to just say that a freshman's going to come in and dominate. I mean, you guys there in Baton Rouge have seen your number of freshmen come in that have lived up to or exceeded expectations, and there's been some that haven't. But Caleb Downs at safety, Caden Proctor at tackle, maybe even a tailback could really help this football team this year. And if they do, then you're talking about potentially going to that level that a lot of people usually expect them to be at.
How do you like Tommy Rees fitting as the play caller?
I like Tommy. I think Tommy calls a good game. I think he's got good balance. One thing I like about Tommy, and this is one place I think Nick Saban wanted to go, is not being overly reliant on individual players. I do think maybe it was a little subconscious over the last few years, whether it was quarterback or Will Anderson, edge defender. They've become a little bit reliant on individual players, and I think he wants to get away from that. So I think Tommy will bring a little bit more balance. I think you'll see more complementary football on both sides of the ball. I don't think Kevin Steele will be as aggressive defensively as Pete Golding was. I don't think it will be as complex of a scheme. One thing Kevin's great at is sort of teaching the game. He's a great teacher of, the philosophies and why you're doing things as opposed to just here's what you do. So I think complementary football is something where Coach Saban wanted to get to, and Tommy Rees is going to bring a lot of balance there. You'll see different formations, more formations, a variety of formations. I think the run game will have more dedication as opposed to just when the quarterback doesn't want to pull the ball out, that's when we're going to decide to run the football. Alabama's lived in gun the last 2 years, and the quarterback has run the show. He won a Heisman. He's the number 1 overall pick. There's no problem with that. It's just I think now that you don't have that guy, Nick Saban wanted to get away from it, and Tommy Rees will bring that.
What does the addition of Pete Golding do to Kiffin's defense, to Ole Miss's defense?
I think it helps a lot. Number one, Jordy, he got it in his mind that he wanted to run that 3-3-5 defense, and I understand that a lot of guys in the Big 12 are having success with it. Iowa State was really good with it. There have been a couple of other teams that have run it, like West Virginia, and had success. But you usually run that because you're unable to grab the personnel up front that you need to be successful running other 3-down defenses or a 4-down or an even front. So I think Pete will get away from that. And I think structurally that will help them against the run a lot more right out of the gate. I mean, you can imagine. I mean, just think about it. 3-3-5. That's a lot of light dudes on the field. I mean, you don't have to be smart at football to understand that. It's going to be a lot easier to run the football on you. Now, you can be like TCU was and play a lot of guys near the line of scrimmage and still muck it up. But at the end of the day, There are a lot of teams in this league that can push you around. And when you don't have other guys that can withstand that, it's going to be a problem. So I think structurally, Pete will bring a defense that will help them against the run a lot more right out of the gate, but more so than Pete Golding. And I love Pete. He'll bring an elite recruiter also. And I love talking football with Pete. I think he's an awesome guy. I think the kids love him. I think they'll enjoy playing for him a little bit more. But I'm going to tell you right now, Jordy, Joshua Harris, the kid they got from NC State, Stephon Wynn Jr., the kid they got from Nebraska. You throw in like a J.J. Pegues who's already there. He's kind of still learning to be an everyday defensive tackle, an interior defensive lineman. They have a group of guys on the inside of that D-line, maybe unlike any they've ever had. Like they've had a Kimdichie every now and then, or a Kendrick Clancy every now and then, or a Benito Jones every now and then, but they don't usually have 3 or 4 that can strike and shed, that can two-gap, that can play the run, that can be legitimate pluggers inside of that defensive line like they have this year. They could have some real depth on the interior of that D-line, and that's going to be different in and of itself for Ole Miss. And not to say that any of those guys are going to be near what like a Kimdichie has been or was at times, but collectively they've got guys now that they can throw out there, and they're going to actually look like SEC defensive tackles. And I think that's also going to allow them defensively to potentially take a big step.
Even when we were hyping up A&M last year after the stellar recruiting class, people were pointing towards this season for them, right? Like a year after these guys had a chance to be on campus. They lose a couple of them in the offseason, but they do not lose a lot of those guys up front on the defensive line. What do you expect from A&M here this year?
Yeah, I'm not with the people that are saying this is Jimbo's last year and this is some kind of massive down year and 5-6 wins. I don't see that. Connor Wigman, first off, has a ton of ability. He's a good athlete. He's a really good baseball player. And I think he's got a good arm, strong arm, accurate arm. And now he'll have a lot more time in the offense with some game reps to be able to come back and understand how he needs to operate. Now, he'll be operating more Bobby Petrino's offense. And I also don't think that that's going to be problematic like a lot of people do. Listen, Bobby Petrino, I mean, Jordy, you know him in a similar fashion that I do. He's not the guy that's going to go somewhere to be told what to do. Right. That ain't his MO. I think he has just enough MF in him to sort of offset what Jimbo might have been doing or wanted to do with a different type of a guy. Now, let me say this about the offense really quick. That's a lot of personality in one room. Mm-hmm. That you're going to be telling me. I would love to be a fly on the wall in those offensive meeting rooms in College Station this year. The guy who I think makes a big difference for them that nobody's going to talk about most of the year is Jim Chaney. Former Tennessee offensive coordinator, former Georgia offensive coordinator. He was Arkansas's offensive coordinator. If you've been around Jim, he is about as jolly of a football coach as you will ever meet. He is fun. He's entertaining. He's a big old guy with glasses and talks about getting a beer with you all the time. But he's also a master of pre-snap movement and finding ways to put guys in places that cause the defense problems. Now, he's just an analyst. But I think him, with his personality and what he brings to the table, being in that room, it's exactly what they need. Because they don't need this all the time. Yeah. They need some hugs every now and then and some guys who can just kind of laugh it off and say, why don't we just do this? And I think he's a perfect addition to that offensive staff to be able to help them get to where they want to go. The offensive line should be good. A couple years ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, we've seen a lot of these guys have really good reps on tape. Last year, they got some bad reps on tape. So guys like Layden Robinson, I expect him to be really good, but it wasn't necessarily that last year. They have a chance to have a really good offensive line. They got a talented, very talented group of wide receivers. I'm not really worried about running back. They're not going to be what A-Chain was last year. He was incredible. But I don't think they have to have that position ultimately to be successful. So with an offensive line that's pretty good, a solid quarterback, a talented group of receivers, and Bobby Petrino calling the plays, they're going to be better. And then defensively, as you stated, they probably have the best collection of defensive linemen in the SEC. Mm-hmm. Now, some of those guys are versatile, can move in and out. But, I mean, you look at guys like McKinley Jackson and Fadil Diggs. I mean, they have different type of defensive linemen, too. Guys who can play inside and outside. Guys that are lower center of gravity. Guys that can just live inside. I love the mix that they have as well. And I imagine they'll be playing with heavy hearts this year with the loss of Terry Price. Yeah. Last week. That was just tragic. Hated to see it. One of the really good guys in college football. But I worry about the second and third level. But we all know best way to protect your defense is to have a bunch of war daddies up front and dudes who can dominate the line of scrimmage. A&M will have that on their defensive line.
Didn't Coach Price coach you? Wasn't he on the Auburn staff when you were there?
He was on the staff with me at Auburn. Yeah. I was playing offense. He was coaching defensive ends. But yes, that's where I first got to know him. He came to Auburn in '99 on Tommy Tuberville's staff, and just an absolute joy to be around, man. Like every time I saw him, it was first question: how the kids? How's your wife? How's the family? It was never about him. He always wanted to know how you were doing, how your family was doing, how the job was going. And he lit up every time he saw you like it was the first time he had seen you in 10 or 20 years. That was the kind of guy that he was. And he was a damn good football coach too. So, he's one of those real good guys in college football coaching, and just hated to lose him because, my time knowing him at Auburn, I've kept in touch with him at A&M. He's just one of the best. And I know it's tough for those folks out there in College Station right now.
Yeah, man, 55 years old, one going way too soon. When we're talking about the East, what do you make of Georgia's schedule and what they're going to have to go through to? I mean, are they fighting? It feels like they're playing a couple of high school teams in Baton Rouge to get to the SEC title.
It's light. There's really no two ways around it. And it's not all on them. We can, I'm not the guy that's going to sit there and point a finger and kind of laugh and say, what's Georgia doing? What are they thinking? The East is the East, as you stated. Now, I do think that there are a couple of teams in the East that are a little bit under the radar right now. If Kentucky gets the offensive line figured out, which they've got a couple transfers in, they got a kid from Northern Illinois is a pretty good player, a kid from USC coming in that could help, and the way Liam Cohen calls plays could offset what that group has to be just a little bit. But I'm going to tell you, Jordy, Ray Davis, the running back they got from Vanderbilt, the kid can go. He's a really good football player. I put him on. We had Vanderbilt against Tennessee at the end of the year last year, and constantly saw him picking up 4, 8, 6 yards with not a lot of help up front. Just to get, damn, this kid, this is a really good football player. I thought he and Mekhi Wingo were the two most underrated players in the SEC last year. And, you got Devin Leary, who is a really good quarterback. I don't think a lot of SEC fans realize just how good he is. He's not as talented as Will Levis, but I think he's a better college quarterback. And all he has to be is upright. That's been his biggest issue, is availability. So if he's in the game and the O-line can protect, here's the other part, Jordy. In my opinion, Kentucky has the best wide receiver room right now that they've had in the history of the school. When you're talking overall talent. Now they've had a Randall Cobb here and there, or a Craig Yeast here and there, but they have 3-4 guys right now who can get it. So that offense has a chance to be pretty sporty if the O-line can figure it out. And Brad White's an underrated D coordinator. J.J. Weaver off the edge is going to be fantastic. They'll still have a solid front seven. They could be sneaky good. South Carolina's got Spencer Rattler back. Now, if they get Mo Kaba, Jordan Strachan off the edge, healthy, and playing good ball on defense, maybe they take a step on that side of the ball. New offensive coordinator, which I think will simplify things. And I think Juice Wells is fantastic. You saw my video. I think him and Malik Neighbors are neck and neck as the two best wide receivers in the SEC. I actually lean Juice Wells just a little bit because I have an idea kind of how some of the other things he does off the field and the leader that he is in that facility. But they got dudes. It's just they're light on the O-line. They lost their best tackle in the spring. And I wonder about the depth up front on both sides of the ball. But if all that works out, South Carolina could be scary. What if Joe Milton is everything that the talent says that it is? They still have a good group of receivers. They still have a good group of backs. They lose their two best O-linemen. And I don't think they're going to get a ton of stops on defense. But, Tennessee's really scary. And if Missouri kind of gets quarterback figured out, I think they could be a pretty good football team. Luther Burden's a legit number one wide receiver. He'll move to the slot. They'll move him around, do different things. They got a good run scheme, good running backs. I think they have the most NFL-ready tackle right now in Javon Foster over on the left side. Now, there's a couple young pups in this league that will probably pass him throughout the course of this year. But they have some guys that could be dangerous, and I love the way they call that defense now. You saw how problematic they were for Georgia last year. So I think there's a lot of problem. Like a lot of headache teams in the East. It's just nobody's really close to Georgia, man. Like talent-wise, coaching-wise, like just continuity-wise, just nobody seems to be near what they're doing right now.
Yeah. Milton had everybody buzzing down in Thibodeau at the Manning Passing Academy from just his raw talent of throwing the football down there. All right, let's bring it home here. LSU, you mentioned you like them in the West. Your position breakdown groups, I think, had a lot of love for LSU as well. Where are the Tigers in your headspace going into year 2 under Kelly?
I mean, there's a lot to love. There are a lot of things that it looks like they're aligning for them to make a legitimate championship run. I don't think there are a large number of teams that can compete for a national title in college football this year. I do think LSU is one of them. Obviously, returning starter at quarterback, and you have good quarterback depth, which we don't talk about that a lot. Mm-hmm. But let's look how many times that's affected teams through the course of a season in college football. After Ohio State, and I think it's closer to Ohio State than a lot of people believe, best receiving core in college football. I mean, Jordy, they've got legit robots, like aliens out there playing wide receiver, man. Like the size, the physicality, the ability at certain sizes of what these young men can do. Yeah. It's wild, man. And you got a legit tight end in Mason Taylor. Your entire offensive line is back. That was something that they had to try to figure out and move around and piece together for the first 4 or 5 games last year. That's not going to be an issue. You have the best defensive player in the SEC, maybe in college football, in Harold Perkins, who can take over a game. We saw him do it multiple times last year, and you can use him in a lot of different ways. So that gives Matt House a huge advantage going into certain games as to, all right, is he going to be an edge rusher? Is he going to be a middle blitzer? Is he going to play off the ball? How are they going to use this guy? You have to identify him. That's a guy that I can imagine when I was playing center, like we're going to go find him before every play. I got to know where he's at and got to know how we're going to manage him. The back end, from a coverage perspective, a little bit concerning, but a really solid tandem of interior defensive linemen with Wingo and Mason Smith. I can't wait to watch Mason Smith play this year. I hated seeing him go down in the first game last year, talking to guys on the staff there and the previous staff just about things he was capable of doing at that size. Like, he's a Vince McMahon first-round draft pick, like one of those dudes that you just see. You're like, well, if football don't work out, like he could probably roll over to WWE and get a job today.
Right.
But I think it's gonna be a fun team to watch, man. I'm the way that they progressed through last year, and it was funny because everybody just said, "Oh, they're getting better," or "They got better." I was like, I don't really think they're getting better. I think they're just figuring themselves out. Like the coaches are figuring out that Malik likes to go a little bit faster. Like they're figuring out that he likes to utilize his legs a little bit. Okay, the offensive line has to be moved around a little bit and get our pieces where we need them. Once they got things figured out, that's when guys could play at their best. So I think the leadership might be a little bit better inside the facility this year as well. And I have high hopes for LSU. Their depth is a little bit concerning in a couple spots, but that's almost every team in college football, man.
What'd you make of Brian Kelly in year 1?
I was blown away. And I had never met him. We came over there for I think it was the Southern game last year. And finally got a chance to sit down with him and talk to him and walked away more impressed than I thought I could be. The organization, as dialed in as he was, just the understanding of what that job is, I think is probably what impressed me the most. Because there was this like I do, there was a perception in the media outside of there. And I don't think guys like that cover the SEC or cover other schools in the SEC really fell for it. Some of the nerds that only cover one school probably did, but there was this outside perception of, he's this guy from he's this northerner coming down and don't know how to act in Baton Rouge. It's going to cost him that he's not going to fit in. But then when you sat there and talked to him and he tells you how important Louisiana is and how he wants to bring kids back out of the portal, and he's going to make an emphasis on young men from Louisiana there, and how high school and recruiting in Louisiana is going to be an emphasis and something they need to continue to make an emphasis. And how he talks to the players about, I remember one thing that he told me that I thought was really cool. He said, we have too many players who their entire identity is playing football at LSU. Now that's a vast contrast from what I think a lot of people would want their head coach to say. Like I personally don't think I would ever hear Nick Saban say that. Sure. I just don't. However, it's something that I would want my head coach to say because I want him to help guys understand that football's not always going to be there. What else can we go do? What else can we be in the community? How are you going to be as a dad, as a husband one day? So he brings all those things to the table. Just a couple of extra reasons why I was so impressed with him.
Last one, Cole, get you out of here. Just for your alma mater, Hugh Freeze, off-season, first one. What's the fit been like and expectation going into year 1?
Yeah, the fit is better than I think anyone could have imagined. I think, Jordy, right now, there's more alignment at the top at Auburn University than I've seen in my lifetime.
Wow.
And when I say that, I mean the administration, the boosters, every faction of the boosters, the collective, the people running the collective, the fans, all of it. And that shows that he probably is a good fit. Now, the word fit, like you guys have seen there, probably what most people would think is the best fit humanly possible, not work out long term. So I don't always like to use that term because I don't even really know what that is in a lot of places, and I think it can change very quickly. But he has fit in at Auburn. And you look what he's done through the portal, the upgrade in talent, he's brought in the best quarterback on the roster, the 2 best receivers on the roster, the 2 best tackles on the roster, the best interior defensive lineman on the roster, the best tight end on the roster, and probably the 2 best linebackers on the roster. I mean, half those starters, Georgie, and I don't mean one side of the ball, half the 22 that starts on the opener are probably going to be guys they brought in out of the portal, and they'll get more that help them a lot that are heavy role players. So he has changed the roster. The recruiting is at a level that it hasn't been in a while. So I've been very impressed. So he's crossed that first hurdle, upgrade the talent, and get the recruiting back where it needed to be. Now, here come the next hurdles. You've got to organize it. You've got to motivate it. You got to get it all on the same page. Understanding continuity, chemistry. You got to build all that to go out, and then you got to have some intensity to go out and win football games in this league. So I think great first step for Hugh Freeze. Second step we won't really see. Third step's going to be when they start playing football games, and obviously we'll get a real good idea how that's going.
He is the best college football analyst that you will find in the sport. He's got a daily radio show on the Monster that is WJOX 94.5. That is McElroy and Kubelik that runs 7 to 10 a.m. Monday through Friday, and you can catch him on YouTube with the Cube Show, which is a fantastic subscription. Make sure and get over there and subscribe today. Have a great show, man. Thanks for the time as always.
Hey, thanks, Troy. I appreciate you having me.
Always, man. There he is, Cole Kubelik checking in. All right, bro. Thank you.